York City this spring. We are getting the dirtbags off these streets.
What we're doing is we're targeting the worst first, right? That's who we're getting. We're focusing on those targets. We're not targeting people in schools. We're not targeting people in churches. We're targeting people who are the worst. There's a chance they're going to go to some of those places, and this administration has kind of taken some of the handcuffs off of us in a way, right? We're leaving the discretion with our officers, and our officers are trained to make good decisions out there, and we support them. And that's the one thing that we have to realize. These officers now, when we could have arrested somebody at a safe facility, right, a jail or a core lockup with one or two officers, and now we have to go out into the streets. Now most of our teams are at least 10 agents and officers trying to arrest one individual.
What we had heard from immigration advocates is that this is going to provide a chilling effect to parents in the school drop-off line or something of that matter.
It shouldn't be a chilling effect unless your child is a terrorist or a public safety threat. If they are a public safety threat and national security threat, they should be chilled. They should be afraid because we're looking for them.
Well, if their parent is here and they're an undocumented immigrant, I think was more of the argument that they were making.
They're not off the table either. I mean, in the country illegally, they got a problem. I mean, it's not okay. Look, it's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime, and that's where it's supposed to be. I wouldn't feel comfortable if I'm in Switzerland illegally. So we're going to enforce the laws of this country. So, the schools and the churches, that sensitive location was a policy only for ICE, only for immigration, right? But national security threats and public safety threats have no safe haven in this country, and we'll go where we got to go.
We do know they're here. We don't know where they are. We don't know where a lot of them are. It was good to see that your guys were able to get the Tren de Aragua, 50 of those guys this past weekend, I believe, in Colorado. However, I've got to imagine with people from over 200 countries, those known terrorists, is it safe to assume they're plotting, they're planning and scheming an attack on our homeland?
Absolutely. We already caught 8 from Tajikistan planning a terrorist attack. Luckily, the intelligence community called them on a chatter. But the intelligence community is not perfect. They missed Afghanistan. They missed 9/11. They're not perfect. So I agree with Christopher Wray, even though I have no respect for Christopher Wray. Me and him agree on one thing. What they've done on the southern border is the biggest national security vulnerabilities this nation ever seen. We see more red flags than ever before. Something's coming.
Did you listen to what he just said? I cut it right at that point because I wanted to make sure I put a big old exclamation point on that. Yesterday I had posted something on Twitter. I showed you guys in last night's show where I said, be ready, be ready. And you just heard him say, something is coming. This entire border immigration, repatriation, mass deportation is freaking people out. You better be ready. I'm saying, be ready.
President Trump's in the Oval Office when something does come because he'll take control of it.
I've been saying it's a matter of when, not if, and I pray to God that I'm wrong. What do you know about the Border Patrol agents exchanging gunfire with Mexico drug cartels from earlier?
They've taken gunfire, and it's going to get worse, Sean, because President Trump's going to seal that border. He's going to put the cartels out of business. He declared them a terrorist organization. We got the whole of government is going to dismantle these people and wipe them off the face of the earth. They're not going to go. They're not going to go lightly. We're taking them out of the trafficking business. We're taking them out of the smuggling business. We're taking them out of the dope business. There's going to be more violence on the southwest border. That's why Trump committed to calling the terrorist organization. He has. That's why the entire United States government is going to take care of those people and abolish them. We're going to attack them not just in Mexico, but in the 42 countries that Jalisco cartel is currently residing in. The Trump administration is going to take them on just like he did the Caliphate, and we're going to destroy them.
All right, Tom Homan, great job. First week on the job, terrific. We really appreciate your time and putting up with the crazy.
You see, I know the people here don't like to hear this. They don't like it being talked about. Yesterday, they went ahead and dinged my video because I was talking about the newcomers. We're still not okay to call them what they really are. We're still not okay to show what the emphasis that Trump is putting on his administration in his first week. They don't want to hear it. But we're going to talk about it because that's how we save our country. That's what you and I both voted for. So just be aware. I'm not going to harp on it. Just get yourselves in a position. These people are not going to go quietly. And right now, with what he did with the Transformers, he kicked out 15,000 of them from the military. From the military. So now you've got all these newcomers, and you've got 15,000 military-trained Transformers who are now on the outside looking in, and they're not happy. So just make sure you got your six covered at all times, but at the same time, enjoy what's going on. Because their anger, and the media's anger, and the Democrats' anger means only one thing. Only one thing.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
So as we're waiting for Karoline Leavitt to step to the podium for her first press conference, let me show you some of the winning, just to bring it all in perspective. Now, this thing is probably going to be filled with fireworks. I'm sure that everybody involved, this is SV texting me, all of the people in the press are going to come at her with knives. They're going to try and shake her. They're going to try and do whatever they possibly can to get at Karoline Leavitt. Remember, she's the youngest press secretary in United States history. She's only 27 years old. 27. And so these people sharpen the knives, put on the gloves. I'm positive they're coming for her. They want to get her on the first time out the box, which she should be stepping up in about 10 minutes, and we'll jump right to it. But let me just recap some of the wins. The first win that I want to bring you guys up to speed on, this is the very first win, is this. We have a new Secretary of Transportation. Sean Duffy was confirmed. He is the new Secretary of Transportation, which means Pete Buttigieg can go do whatever he wants. Get out of here. He's gone, whatever. What a nightmare. Did the guy do anything? Did he do anything in 4 years except take a vacation and learn how to... Never mind. They might get mad. But you know what I mean. Breastfeed. Ooh, excuse me. But now we have a guy in there who's going to shake things up and get things done. And interesting, he sailed through. He was confirmed 78 to 22. 78 to 22. So congratulations to Sean Duffy. Get to work. All right, so I want to bring you up to speed on a couple things that the boss posted, and he's dude is kicking butt, taking names, doesn't care. Wow, really good news. Jim Acosta, one of the worst and most dishonest reporters in journalistic history, a major sleazebag, has been relegated by CNN fake news to the midnight hour because of extraordinarily bad ratings and no talent. Word is that he wants to quit, and then that would be even better. Jim is a major loser who will fail no matter where he ends up. Good luck, Jim. Word is that Jim quit live on the air today. Walked away. Imagine this. Imagine you're a citizen of the United States, and the most powerful man in the world, the President of the United States, calls you out personally. Calls you a loser to the world. The guy who's everybody is hanging on his every word. And he just called out Jim Acosta and it called him basically a serious loser. How bad? Bye, Jim. Good luck. Awful. Speaking of losers, man doesn't stop. This came out. What time did he post this? This is at 11 o'clock last night. Most of you may have been in bed. United States military just entered the great state of California and under emergency powers turned on the water flowing abundantly from the Pacific Northwest and beyond. The days of putting a fake environmental argument over the people are over. Enjoy the water, California. If I were Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass and some of the other ones, I would just resign now. Save yourself the heartache over the next 4 years. People, if you're in California, I just want you to imagine something happening, and you start seeing water in your streams, or water in your rivers, water in your reservoirs, green grass and green leaves, and dead stuff no longer dead. The forestry is managed. What do? You go back to being a Democrat because of all your virtue signaling and ignore what President Trump is showing you? Hey, look, you got water. You've always had water. These idiots turned it off on you. Good luck with that. Good luck with that, California. So, yesterday, and also let you guys know, Monica Page, who we're loving here because she gives us White House access, is in the press briefing room. Less than 1 hour till her first press briefing. She's in there. And if you notice real quick there, you see two screens. Two video screens, display screens, which means they're going to be taking questions from other people than the ones sitting in the audience. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. First press conference is going to be explosive. If Monica has time, she's going to jump on with us after the conference is over. But I wanted you to see that. She's excited. She's got 1 hour until the press briefing, and I hope we get to speak to her today. Now, leading into the press briefing, I had a lot of stuff to go on, but we only have about 5 minutes, so we're going to go through this pretty quick. Where is this thing I wanted to show you? As of right now, where's that thing here? Okay, what did I do with it? All right. It's almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. As of nearly 1 o'clock, actually, they posted this at 11. They had already arrested 969 people and had 869 detainers lodged. Daily statistics as of midnight. So we're midway through the day, and they're just rounding these people up. Having a little bit of resistance with them shooting back at the border control. Stupid, big mistake. But nonetheless, they're taking those shots. They're taking shots. So we'll see if they talk about that today. But one thing I wanted to go over, if we have time to go through all this stuff, because this is amazing. And I've got 4 minutes or so to see if I can run through a bunch of this. The rapid response profile on X, which you got to be following. It's going to be imperative that you follow this profile. They're putting out the actual real news to combat all the fake news out there in the media. So they did a recap, and I'll go through as much of this stuff as I can before we have to jump. So I'm watching the different monitors to see when she takes the stage. Hold on, let me make sure I've got this monitor up so I can see it. There, okay. President Trump's first week in office was the most significant in modern history, correcting course after 4 years of disaster. In just 1 week, President Trump has done more to usher in the golden age of America, which you're going to hear, I think, today a lot in the speech, than most presidents do over their full term. And the New York Post had posted Trump is already hitting the ground running as his first 100 days in office are off to a historic start. Undoubtedly, we've seen it. All right, so let's look at the thread. First up, President Trump is securing the homeland. Secretary Noem was confirmed by the Senate with bipartisan support. And she was in full gear in New York City helping ICE and, Border Patrol doing whatever, looking like a badass. Something we never saw Mayorkas out there doing anything. She just got confirmed last week, and I say she, because Mayorkas, you're a dude, it's a she, and she's out there showing people, I'm ready to back these guys up 100%. I wouldn't be surprised if she was packing too. So Secretary Noem was confirmed. A national border emergency has been declared. Construction resumed on the border wall. Deportation flights of criminal aliens are ramping up. All right, next. So, U.S. military troops are being deployed to assist in securing the southern border, while the Coast Guard is surging assets to the Gulf of America. Love how they said that. Active duty Marines and soldiers continue to deploy and are integrating with the U.S. National Guard forces already along the border and working together with Department of Homeland Security and the Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol. The so-called CB1 app that you guys heard of, which paroled more than 1 million newcomers into the country, was shut down. DHS is reviewing the parole status of all of them who were allowed in the country under the Biden administration. And this was effective on January 20th, 2025. And I'm going to go over the rest of this, but I just wanted to, we're 1 minute out, so I'm not going to go too much further into it. But when you see all this stuff lined up like that, in which Trump has done in the first week and more, because since they posted that, even more stuff has happened. So before we jump on there, let me show you something that just happened just a little while ago. This is really important. George Behezy tweets. If you guys don't know George, I like George. George is probably one of my biggest sources for content. George will be live with me tonight at about 7:15. Breaking: President Trump just fired Gwen Wilcox, the Nation Labor Relations Board chair. So before we go into that, I see everybody assembling in the press corps room. So we're going to go ahead and let you see this. It's packed, an absolutely packed press corps room. Let me see if you guys can see this. Ooh, what did I just do? It's supposed to be that one. Okay. And this is Harris Faulkner talking, bringing people in. But at any moment, so they're not quite ready. But let's see if they're cutting to it. Yeah, there's Karoline Leavitt talking. Let's listen in what she's saying.
President who has a real mandate from the American people to change their lives and to deliver on the promises.
That was on December 6th.
To the leader of the free world will be increased, and also to the press secretary as well. It is my job to communicate the president's message to the American people as effectively as possible.
So while we're waiting for her, we'll continue. So where was I? Well, I better stay on this. Because I don't want to miss a moment of this. Something tells me this is going to be lots of fun. Lots of fun. Let's just listen in here to all this crap.
Briefing, and we'll soon have a look at what that looks and sounds like. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith in New York,
right,
and John, great to be with you.
They're not ready, but I am. All right, so let's continue with this until that starts. I got my eye on it. You guys can see I'm ready to pounce at any second. All right, so George says, Gwen Wilcox, she's out. National Labor Relations Board chair. Wilcox says she will fight to overturn this decision. So she's going to sue the president because he fired her. As the first, and what's the first thing she says? Your most redeeming quality, the thing you want the world to know. I was wrongly fired because I am so efficient at my job. I have been making sure that labor unions and people and everything. No, she didn't go there. I'm sorry. As the first black woman. See right there? You already sold out. You already tell us what you're all about. You needed to go there? As the first black woman, I brought a unique perspective that I believe will be lost upon my unprecedented and illegal removal. I will be pursuing all legal avenues to challenge my removal, which violates long-standing Supreme Court precedent. President Trump's decisions shocked the system because apparently the NLRB members are shielded from presidential removal, a rule that clearly violates the Constitution. There is no such thing as an independent agency of the federal government. All agencies that wield executive authority are under the president's jurisdiction. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. She somehow thinks not because she's been doing a fantastic job, not because I've overseen, safety in the workplace, and I've overseen, so many unemployed people get back to work. None of that. I'm going to fight it because I'm the first black woman, and I brought a unique perspective I believe will be lost upon my unprecedented and illegal removal. Okay, people, let me just tell you, if you decide to take a job someplace, I am pretty sure that you can't get into that job stating what she just stated. And so why would you state it getting booted from that job? So, hey, Mrs. Wilcox, hey, Mr. Barrett, yeah, what do you think you're going to bring to this position? You know, we really think you're a good candidate for the, the chairman of the National Labor Relations. So tell me what you can bring. I'm black, and my perspective as a black man is unprecedented. Said no applicant who ever wanted to get a job. Never. You see, that was what you said to the other president. I'm black, and because I'm black, I bring let me get the words right. I bring a unique perspective that I believe on the exit will be lost. So on the entrance, her statement should have been, as a black person that you're hiring, I will bring a unique perspective that I believe will be unbelievable in your company. Okay, we'll call you back. Okay, you're good. We're good too. You see that in itself tells you what it's all about. It has nothing to do with the proficiency, ability, success in the position. None of that mattered. I'm not making a mountain out of a molehill. She actually said it. It was the fourth word. As the first black woman. That's what she wanted you to know. As the first black woman. I don't care. Al Sharpton, go scream through Costco anywhere you want. You can't get a job saying that. So stop pretending as though that is a major proponent plus on your resume. No, it's not, and it shouldn't be. And as long as people purport to being the first black, the first woman, the first Asian, in regards to a position, you are denigrating the applicant pool. Because you're not saying, hey, I did a great job. You want to sue me if I fire you? Prove to me that you need to be here. Show me over the last 4 years that you've been in this position, assuming it was 4 years. Show me your stats. It's pretty simple. Let's look at what you performed. What did you do? But they don't want anybody looking at performance. Because if you look at performance, the entirety of the Biden administration is in the can. It's trash. It's poop. It's completely, utterly useless. All they did was fill in box, and I'll continue after, because here she goes. Good luck, Karoline.
Has most definitely begun. The Senate has already confirmed 5 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees: Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. It is imperative that the Senate continues to confirm the remainder of the president's well-qualified nominees as quickly as possible. As you have seen during the past week, President Trump is hard at work fulfilling the promises that he made to the American people on the campaign trail. Since taking the oath of office, President Trump has taken more than 300 executive actions, secured nearly $1 trillion in U.S. investments, deported illegal alien rapists, gang members, and suspected terrorists from our homeland, and restored common sense to the federal government. I want to take a moment to go through some of these extraordinary actions. On day 1, President Trump declared a national emergency at our southern border to end the 4-year-long invasion of illegal aliens under the previous administration. Additionally, President Trump signed an executive order to end catch and release and finish construction of his effective border wall. By using every lever of his federal power, President Trump has sent a loud and clear message to the entire world. America will no longer tolerate illegal immigration, and this president expects that every nation on this planet will cooperate with the repatriation.
Do me a favor and let me know in the chat if the volume is okay. Let me know the volume is okay.
His team to issue harsh and effective sanctions and tariffs on the Colombian government. Upon hearing, they were denied a U.S. military aircraft full of their own citizens who were deported by this administration. Within hours, the Colombian government agreed to all of President Trump's demands, proving America is once again respected on the world stage. So, to foreign nationals who are thinking about trying to illegally enter the United States, think again. Under this president, you will be detained and you will be deported. Every day, Americans are safer because of the violent criminals that President Trump's administration is removing from our communities. On January 23rd, ICE New York arrested a Turkish national for entry without inspection who is a known or suspected terrorist. On January 23rd, ICE San Francisco arrested a citizen of Mexico unlawfully present in the United States who has been convicted of continuous sexual abuse of a child aged 14 years or younger. ICE St. Paul has arrested a citizen of Honduras who was convicted of fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor. ICE Buffalo arrested a citizen of Ecuador who has been convicted of rape. ICE Boston arrested a citizen of the Dominican Republic who has a criminal conviction for second-degree murder. This criminal was convicted of murder for beating his pregnant wife to death in front of her 5-year-old son. And ICE St. Paul also arrested a citizen of Mexico who was convicted of possessing pornographic material of a minor on a work computer. These are the heinous individuals that this administration is removing from American communities every single day, and to the brave state and local law enforcement officers, CBP, and ICE agents who are helping in the facilitation of this deportation operation, President Trump has your back, and he is grateful for your hard work. On the economic front, President Trump took immediate action to lower costs for families who are suffering from 4 long years of the Biden administration's destructive and inflationary policies. President Trump ordered the heads of all executive departments and agencies to help deliver emergency price relief to the American people, untangle our economy from Biden's regulatory constraints, and end the reckless war on American energy. President Trump also signed sweeping executive orders to end the weaponization of government and restore common sense to the federal bureaucracy. He directed all federal agencies to terminate illegal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs to help return America to a merit-based society. President Trump also signed an executive order declaring it is now the policy of the federal government that there are only 2 sexes, male and female. Sanity has been restored. Before I take your questions, I would like to point out to all of you once again have access to the most transparent and accessible president in American history. There has never been a president who communicates with the American people and the American press corps as openly and authentically as the 45th and now 47th president of the United States. This past week, President Trump has held multiple news conferences, gaggled on Air Force One multiple times, and sat down for a 2-part interview on Fox News, which aired last week. As Politico summed it up best, Trump is everywhere again. And that's because President Trump has a great story to tell about the legendary American revival that is well underway. And in keeping with this revolutionary media approach that President Trump deployed during the campaign, the Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities, not just the legacy media who are seated in this room. Because according to recent polling from Gallup, Americans' trust in mass media has fallen to a record low. Millions of Americans, especially young people, have turned from traditional television outlets and newspapers to consume their news from podcasts, blogs, social media, and other independent outlets. It's essential to our team that we share President Trump's message everywhere and adapt this White House to the new media landscape in 2025. To do this, I am excited to announce the following changes will be made to this historic James S. Brady briefing room, where Mr. Brady's legacy will endure. This White House believes strongly in the First Amendment So it's why our team will work diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House. And you can apply now on our new website, whitehouse.gov/new media. Starting today, this seat in the front of the room, which is usually occupied by the press secretary's staff, will be called the new media seat. My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex. So in light of these announcements, our first questions for today's briefing will go to these new media members whose outlets, despite being some of the most viewed news websites in the country, have not been given seats in this room. And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news. And with that, I will turn it over to questions. And we will begin with our new media members, Mike Allen from Axios, Matt Boyle from Breitbart. Mike, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you very much. Karoline, does the president see anything fishy about DeepSeek, either its origins or its cost? And could China's ability to make these models quicker, cheaper, affect our thinking about expanding generation data centers manufacturing?
Sure. The president was asked about DeepSeek last night on Air Force One when he gaggled for, I think, the third or fourth time throughout the weekend with members of the traveling press corps. The president said that he believes that this is a wake-up call to the American AI industry. The last administration sat on their hands and allowed China to rapidly develop this AI program. And so President Trump believes in restoring American AI dominance. And that's why he took very strong executive action this past week to sign executive orders to roll back some of the onerous regulations on the AI industry. And President Trump has also proudly appointed the first AI and crypto czar at this White House, David Sachs, whom I spoke with yesterday, very knowledgeable on this subject, and his team is here working every single day to ensure American AI dominance. As for the national security implications, I spoke with NSC this morning. They are looking into what those may be, and when I have an update, I will share it with you, Mike.
Caroline, you say restore U.S. dominance. Is there a fear that the U.S. either is fallen or has fallen behind? And how would the president make sure the U.S. stays ahead?
No, the president is confident that we will restore American dominance in AI.
Yeah, so Caroline, first of all, thank you to you and President Trump for actually giving voices to new media outlets that represent millions and millions of Americans. The thing I would add, I've got a two-part question for you. The first is just can you expand upon what steps the White House is going to take to bring more voices, not less, which is what our founder, Andrew Breitbart, believed in, into this room where they rightly belong.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said in my opening statement, Matt, it is a priority of this White House to honor the First Amendment. And it is a fact that Americans are consuming their news media from various different platforms, especially young people. And as the youngest press secretary in history, thanks to President Trump, I take great pride in opening up this room to new media voices to share the president's message with as many Americans as possible. In doing so, number one, we will ensure that outlets like yours, Axios and Breitbart, which are widely respected and viewed outlets, have an actual seat in this room every day. We also, again, encourage anybody in this country, whether you are a TikTok content creator, a blogger, a podcaster, if you are producing legitimate news content, no matter the medium, you will be allowed to apply for press credentials to this White House. And as I said earlier, our new media website is whitehouse.gov/new media. And so we encourage people to apply. Again, as long as you are creating news-related content of the day and you're a legitimate independent journalist, you're welcome to cover this White House.
And secondly, Karoline, you said you laid out several of the actions that President Trump has taken. Obviously, it's a stark contrast to the previous administration of breakneck speed from President Trump. Can we expect that pace to continue as the first 100 days moves along here and beyond that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt President Trump has always been the hardest working man in politics. I think that's been proven over the past week. This president has again signed more than 300 executive orders. He's taken historic action. I gaggled aboard Air Force One to mark the first 100 days of this administration, 4 p.m. last Friday, or first 100 hours rather. And this president did more in the first 100 hours than the previous president did in the first 100 days. So President Trump, I think you can all expect for him to continue to work at this breakneck speed. So I hope you're all ready to work very hard. I know that we are. Zeke Miller.
Thanks, Karoline. A question that we've asked your predecessors of both parties in this job. When you're up here in this briefing room speaking to the American public, do you view yourself and your role as advocating on behalf of the president or providing the unvarnished truth that is, not to lie, not to obfuscate to the American people?
I commit to telling the truth from this podium every single day. I commit to speaking on behalf of the President of the United States. That is my job. And I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people. And that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that. But since you brought up truth, Zeke, I would like to point out, while I vow to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House. So yes, I will hold myself to the truth, and I expect everyone in this room to do the same.
And Caroline, just on a substantive question, yesterday the White House Office of Management and Budget directed across the board freeze, with some exceptions for individual assistance, we understand, to federal grants. It's caused a lot of confusion around the country among Head Start providers, among providers services to homeless veterans, Medicaid providers, states saying they're having trouble accessing the portal. Could you help us clear up some of the confusion, give some certainty to folks, and also is that uncertainty, how does that uncertainty service the president's voters?
Well, I think there's only uncertainty in this room amongst the media. There's no uncertainty in this building. So let me provide the certainty and the clarity that all of you need. This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that. However, it is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. That is something that President Trump campaigned on. That's why he has launched DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, who is working alongside OMB. And that's why OMB sent out this memo last night, because the president signed an executive order directing OMB to do just this. And the reason for this is to ensure that every penny that is going out the door is not conflicting with the executive orders and actions that this president has taken. So what does this pause mean? It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam that has cost American taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies. No more funding for Green New Deal social engineering policies. Again, people who are receiving individual assistance, you will continue to receive that. And President Trump is looking out for you by issuing this pause because he is being good steward of your taxpayer dollars.
Thanks, Karoline.
Sure.
How long is this pause going to last, and how is the Trump administration recommending that organizations that rely on federal funding make payroll, pay their rent in the meantime?
It is a temporary pause, and the Office of Management and Budget is reviewing the federal funding that has been going out the door. Again, not for individual assistance, but for all of these other programs that I mentioned. I also spoke with the incoming director of OMB this morning, and he told me to tell all of you that the line to his office is open for other federal government agencies across the board, and if they feel that programs are necessary and in line with the president's agenda, then the Office of Management and Budget will review those policies. I think this is a very responsible measure. Again, the past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country, and it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly.
Why impose this pause with so little notice? Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time?
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. You know, just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
And so this doesn't affect Meals on Wheels or Head Start or disaster aid?
Again, it does not affect individual assistance that's going to Americans.
To follow up on Nancy, do you think there will be a list of who is affected and how much money is affected? How will these contractors and organizations know if they are actually having their funding frozen? And then secondly, if you're willing, can you just clarify, is the end goal of this to essentially challenge Congress or to prove that the president can withhold federal funding? In other words, is this an attempt to pick a fight to prove that he can do this?
No, absolutely not. As it says right here in the memo, which I have, and I'd encourage all of you to read it, it says the American people elected President Trump to be the president of the United States and gave him a mandate to increase the impact of every federal dollar. This memo requires federal agencies to identify and review all federal financial assistance programs and supporting activities consistent with the president's policies and requirements. The American people gave President Trump an overwhelming mandate on November 5th, and he's just trying to ensure that the tax money going out the door in this very bankrupt city actually aligns with the will and the priorities of the American people. So will there be a line?
Yes. Welcome. You look great. You're doing a great job. You talked about transparency, and some of us in this room know how just transparent President Trump has been the last 5 or 6 years. I think you'll do the same. My question is, do you think this latest incident with the president of Colombia is indicative of the global powerful respect they have for President Trump moving forward, not only to engage in economic diplomacy with these countries, but also world peace?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'll echo the answer that the president gave on Air Force One last night when he was asked a very similar question by one of your colleagues in the media. This signifies peace through strength is back. And this president will not tolerate illegal immigration into America's interior. And he expects every nation on this planet, again, to cooperate with the repatriation of their citizens who illegally entered into our country and broke America's laws. Won't be tolerated. And as you saw, the Colombian government quickly folded and agreed to all of President Trump's demands. Flights are underway once again.
Karoline. 2 questions on deportations, if I may. President Trump had said on the campaign trail that he would deport pro-Hamas students who are here on visas. And on his first day in office, he signed an executive order that said, quote, the U.S. must ensure that admitted aliens and aliens otherwise already present in the U.S. do not bear hostile attitudes towards the citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles. So should we take this executive order as Trump saying he would be open to deporting those students who are here on visas but, hold pro-Hamas sympathies?
The president is open to deporting individuals who have broken our nation's immigration laws. So if they are here illegally, then certainly he is open to deporting them. And that's what this administration is hard at work at doing. We receive data from DHS and from ICE every single day. From what we hear on the ground, ICE agents are feeling incredibly empowered right now because they actually have a leader in this building who is supporting them in doing their jobs that they were hired to do, which is to detain, arrest, and deport illegal criminals who have invaded our nation's borders over the past 4 years. That's what the president is committed to seeing. Peter.
Very quickly, just following up on the question on immigration first. President Trump, during the course of the campaign in 2024, said the following about illegal immigration. He said, they're going back home where they belong, and we start with the criminals. There are many, many criminals. NBC News has learned that ICE arrested 1,179 undocumented immigrants on Sunday, but nearly half of them, 566 of the migrants, appear to have no prior criminal record besides entering the country illegally. Is the president still focused exclusively, which is a civil crime, it's not criminal.
It's a federal crime.
So I'm asking, though, he said he was going to focus on those violent offenders first. So is violent offenders no longer the predicate for these people to be deported?
The president has said countless times on the campaign trail, I've been with him at the rallies, I know you've been there covering them too, Peter, that he is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals. And if you are an individual, a foreign national, who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so therefore, you are subject to deportation.
I apologize for interrupting. So to be clear, it's not violent criminals do not receive precedence in terms of the deportations taking place.
The president has also said two things can be true at the same time. We want to deport illegal criminals, illegal immigrants from this country, but the president has said that, of course, the illegal criminal drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, the individuals who have committed heinous acts on the interior of our country and who have terrorized law-abiding American citizens, absolutely, those should be the priority of ICE, but that doesn't mean that the other illegal criminals who entered our nation's borders are off the table.
Understood. Then let me ask you a separate question about the confusion that still exists across the country right now as it relates to the freeze or the pause as it's described. President Trump, of course, ran one of the key policy items was that he was going to lower prices, lower the cost of everything from groceries, as he often said. But in many of the cases, it would seem that some of these moves could raise prices for real Americans on everything from low-income heating, that program, child care programs. Will nothing that the president's doing here in terms of the freeze in these programs raise prices on ordinary Americans?
What particular actions are you referring to that would?
I'm referring to LHEAP right now. That's the low-income heating program, for example. We can talk about, there's no clarity, so I could refer to a lot of them. We don't know what they are specifically. Can you tell us that LHEAP is not one of those affected?
So you're asking a hypothetical based on programs that you can't even identify.
I just identified.
What I can tell you
just to be clear, since you guys haven't identified, let's do it together just for Americans at home. Medicaid, is that affected?
I gave you a list of examples: Social Security, Medicare, welfare benefits, food stamps that will not be impacted by this federal pause. I can get you the full list after this briefing from the Office of Management and Budget. But I do want to address the cost cutting because that's certainly very important and cutting the cost of living in this country. President Trump has taken historic action over the past week to do that. He actually signed a memorandum to deliver emergency price relief for American families, which took a number of actions. I can walk you through those. He also repealed many onerous Biden administration regulations. We know over the past 4 years, American households has been essentially taxed $55,000 in regulations from the previous administration. President Trump, with the swipe of his pen, rescinded those, which will ultimately put more money back in the pockets of the American people. So deregulation is a big deal. And then when it comes to energy, I mean, the president signed an executive order to declare a national energy emergency here at home, which is going to make America energy dominant. We know that energy is one of the #1 drivers of inflation. And so that's why the president wants to increase our energy supply to bring down costs for Americans. The Trump energy boom is incoming, and Americans can expect that.
Please share that. Thank you.
Karoline, I think some of the confusion I think may be here with this pause on federal funding. You've made it clear you're not stopping funds that go directly to individuals, but there certainly are lots of organizations that receive funding and then may pass along a benefit. Meals on Wheels, for everyone. They provide meals for over 2.2 million seniors. What is the president's message to Americans out there, many of whom supported him and voted for him, who are concerned that this is going to impact them directly, even if, as you said, the funding isn't coming directly to their wallet?
I have now been asked and answered this question 4 times. To individuals at home who receive direct assistance from the federal government, you will not be impacted by this federal freeze. In fact, OMB just sent out a memo to Capitol Hill with Q&A to clarify some of the questions and the answers that all of you are asking me right now. Again, direct assistance will not be impacted. I've been asked and answered about this OMB memo. There's many other topics of the day. Jackie Heinrich.
Direct assistance, Caroline, if it's going to another organization and then trickling down.
Direct assistance that is in the hands of the American people will not be impacted. Again, as I said to Peter, we will continue to provide that list as it comes to fruition. But OMB right now is focused on analyzing the federal government's spending, which is exactly what the American people elected President Trump to do.
And one question on immigration, Caroline, on immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You may have one going with the worst first. They all have a criminal record.
And welcome to the briefing
If they
room.
broke our nation's laws, yes, they are criminal. Yes.
Thank you. On stripping security details for figures like John Bolton, Pompeo, Brian Hook, Senator Tom Cotton said that he's seen the intelligence and the threat from Iran is real for anyone who played a role in the Soleimani strike. He voiced concern it wouldn't just impact those individuals, but potentially their family, innocent bystanders, friends, anyone who's near them when they're out in public. Is the president open to reconsidering his decision?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday, and he was firm in his decision despite some of the comments that you had referenced. And he's made it very clear that he does not believe American taxpayers should fund security details for individuals who have served in the government for the rest of their lives. And there's nothing stopping these individuals that you mentioned from obtaining private security. That's where the president stands on it. I have no updates on that.
Is there any concern that this decision might jeopardize the administration's ability to hire the best advisors for these kinds of positions in the future?
No, in fact, I've talked to the presidential personnel office who has told me directly that there is such an influx of resumes for this administration that it's incredibly overwhelming. There is no lack of talent for the Trump administration.
Reagan, would he take any responsibility if anything happened to these people? Would he feel at all that his decision was a factor in that?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. I defer you to his comments.
Caroline.
Reagan, since you're in the back row, I hear you, the back row hasn't gotten much attention in the last 4 years, so I'm happy to answer your question.
And I can project. Does the president intend to permanently cut off funding to NGOs that are bringing illegal foreign nationals to the country, such as Catholic charities?
I am actually quite certain that the president signed an executive order that did just that, and I can point you to that.
One more, Caroline. President Trump issued an executive order on increased vetting for refugees in visa applications. Right. Part of that order was considering an outright ban for countries that have deficient screening processes. Has the president considered yet which countries might fall into this category? Or countries like Afghanistan or Syria under consideration for a full ban?
Yeah, so the president signed an executive order to streamline the vetting for visa applicants and for illegal immigrants in this country who are coming, of course, from other nations. It also directed the Secretary of State to review the process and make sure that other countries around the world are being completely transparent with our nation and the individuals that they are sending here. And so the Secretary of State has been directed to report back to the president. I haven't seen that report yet. We've only been here for a few days.
One on the freeze in federal funding. Who advised the president on the legality of telling government agencies that they don't have to spend money that was already appropriated by Congress?
Well, as the OMB memo states, this is certainly within the confines of the law. So White House counsel's office believes that this is within the president's power to do it, and therefore he's doing it.
Okay, so they disagree with lawmakers who say that they don't have the power to freeze this funding.
Again, I would point you to the language in the memo that clearly states this is within the law.
And on what happened on Friday night, the administration fired several inspectors general without giving Congress the 30-day legally required notification that they were being fired. I think only 2 were left at DHS and the DOJ. And then yesterday we saw saw several prosecutors, I believe 12, fired from the Justice Department who worked on the investigations into the president. As you know, they are career prosecutors, therefore they are afforded civil service protections. How is the administration deciding which laws to follow and which ones to ignore?
So it is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that. He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to. There's also a case that went before the Supreme Court in 2020, Scala Law LLC versus the Customs, Bureau Protection. I would advise you to look at that case, and that's the legality that this White House was resting on.
So you're confident that if they bring lawsuits against you, those prosecutors who were fired, that they will succeed?
We will win in court.
And did he personally direct this, given they worked on the classified documents investigation and the election interference investigation?
This was a memo that went out by the Presidential Personnel Office, and the president is the leader of this White House. So yes. Yes.
Karoline.
Thank you. Congrats on your first day behind the podium.
Thank you.
President Trump ended funding for UNRWA and also designated the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization.
That's right.
Both were decisions that the previous administration had reversed. So here's my question. Will there be an investigation into who gave the previous administration this terrible advice?
Well, that's a very good point. I haven't heard discussions about such an investigation, but it wouldn't be a bad idea considering that the Houthis certainly are terrorists. They have launched attacks on U.S. naval ships across this world. And so I think it was a very wise move by this administration to redesignate them as a terrorist group, because they are. And I think it was a foolish decision by the previous administration to do so. As for an investigation, I'm not sure about that, but it's not a bad idea.
Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Can you give us an update on the president's plans for his tariff agenda? He spoke a lot about this yesterday, and there's a couple of dates coming up that he's spoken to. Number one, February 1st, he's alluded to both the potential for tariffs for Canada and Mexico, but also China to take effect on those days. What's he thinking about that?
Yeah.
Should those countries expect that?
Again, he was asked and answered this question this past weekend when he took a lot of questions from the press, and he said that the February 1st date for Canada and Mexico still holds.
What about the China 10% tariff that he also had mused about last Tuesday going into effect on the same day?
Yeah, the president has said that he is very much still considering that for February 1st.
Separately, yesterday he talked also about sectoral tariffs on, for instance, pharmaceuticals as well as semiconductor computer chips. He talked about steel, aluminum, and copper. What's the timeline on those? Or is that a similar sort of coming days thing?
Yeah, so when the president talked about that in his speech yesterday, that actually wasn't a new announcement. That was within a presidential memorandum that he signed in one of the first days here in the White House on his America First trade agenda. So there's more details on those tariffs in there. As far as a date, I don't have a specific date to read out to you, but the president is committed to implementing tariffs effectively, just like he did in his first term.
Finally, he also was asked on the plane when he gaggled about the potential for a universal tariff. He was asked maybe about 2.5%. There was a report about that. He said he wanted much bigger than that. Should we understand that these tariffs would add up? You know, in other words, you might have country-specific tariffs like Canada, Mexico, China. You might have sectoral tariffs like on pharmaceuticals, as well as a potential universal tariff on top of that. Do these stack on one or the other, or would one sort of take precedence over another?
All I can point you to is what the president has said on this front. The February 1st date for Canada and Mexico, also the China tariff that he has discussed. He rejected the 2.5% tariff. He said that was a little bit too low. He wants it to be higher. I'll leave it to him to make any decisions on that front. Phil Weichman.
What the Mexicans and Canadians have done so far, do you have any comment on whether that has met the bar, what he wants to see on fentanyl? Thank you.
I won't get ahead of the president, again, on advocating to foreign nations on what they should or shouldn't do to get away from these tariffs. The president has made it very clear, again, that he expects every nation around this world to cooperate with the repatriation of their citizens. And the president has also put out specific statements in terms of Canada and Mexico when it comes to what he expects in terms of border security. We have seen a historic level of cooperation from Mexico, but again, as far as I'm still tracking, and that was last night talking to the president directly, February 1st is still on the books. Phil.
Thank you, Caroline. Quick programming note and then a question on taxes. Well, in terms of programming, should we expect to see you here every day? How frequently will these press briefings be?
It is a good question, April. So look, the president, as you know, is incredibly accessible. First day here, he wanted all of you in the Oval Office. You got a 60-minute press conference with the leader of the free world while he was simultaneously signing executive orders. I may add that's pretty impressive. I don't think the previous office holder would be able to pull such a thing off. So look, Look, the president is the best spokesperson that this White House has, and I can assure you that you will be hearing from both him and me as much as possible.
And then a question about tax cuts. The president has promised to extend the tax cuts from the previous term. I'm curious, does the president support corresponding spending cuts, as some Republicans have called for in Congress? And will the new Treasury Secretary be leading those negotiations with the Hill, as Mnuchin did during the first administration?
The president is committed to both tax cuts and spending cuts, and he has a great team negotiating on his behalf, but there's no better negotiator than Donald Trump, and I'm sure he'll be involved in this reconciliation process as it moves forward.
Caroline, in the announcement that you made last night on the Iron Dome, it said the president had directed that the United States will build this Iron Dome.
Yeah.
When you read into the executive order, it seemed short of that. It asked for a series of studies and reports back from them. Can you tell us whether the president has directed this? And if he is as concerned on this issue, why the suspensions that we saw listed by OMB included so many different nuclear programs, non-proliferation programs, programs to blend down nuclear weapons, and so forth?
First of all, when it comes to the Iron Dome, the executive order directed the implementation of an Iron Dome. It also, as you said, kind of directed research and studies to see if or how the United States can go about doing this, particularly the Department of Defense. When it comes to the other question that you asked about those specific programs, again, I would say this is not a ban. This is a temporary pause and a freeze to ensure that all of the money going out from Washington, D.C. is in line with the president's agenda. And as the Office of Management and Budget has updates on what will be kickstarted once again, I will provide those to you.
Just clarify for a sec what you were saying before on Medicaid. It wasn't clear to me whether you were saying that no Medicaid would be cut off. Obviously, a lot of this goes to states before it goes to individuals and so forth. So are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the pause?
I'll check back on that and get back to you. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. As you know, in the first week that the president was in office, signed an executive order as it relates to birthright citizenship, trying to eliminate that. Now, 22 state attorney generals have said that this is unconstitutional. A federal judge has just agreed with their argument. What's the administration's argument for doing away with birthright citizenship?
The folks that you mentioned have a right to have that legal opinion, but it is in disagreement with the legal opinion of this administration. This administration believes that birthright citizenship is unconstitutional, and that is why President Trump signed that executive order. Illegal immigrants who come to this country and have a child are not subject to the laws of this jurisdiction. That's the opinion of this administration. We have already appealed the lawsuit that was filed against this administration, and we are prepared to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to, because President Trump believes that this is a necessary step to secure our nation's borders and protect our homeland.
On foreign policy, Caroline, on foreign policy, if I may, the president's commitment to the NATO Defense Alliance, is it as strong as the prior administration? Is it the same as when he served as president in his first term in office?
As long as NATO pays their fair share, and President Trump has called on NATO allies to increase their defense spending to 5%. You actually saw the head of NATO at Davos last week on Bloomberg television saying that President Trump is right, and if Europe wants to keep itself safe, they should increase their defense spending. I would just add that there was no greater ally to our European allies than President Trump in his first term. The world for all nations in Europe and, of course, here at home was much safer because of President Trump's peace through strength diplomatic approach.
Thank you, Caroline. And it's great to finally be called on as well in the briefing room. I appreciate that. Of course, we know President Trump just got back from North Carolina and California meeting with victims of natural disasters. There's the 2-year anniversary of the East Palestine, Ohio toxic train derailment. Does the president have any plans to go visit the victims of that toxic spill, or just visit in general?
No plans that I can read out for you here. If that changes, I will certainly keep you posted. What I can tell you is that President Trump still talks about his visit to East Palestine, Ohio. That was one of the turning points, I would say, in the previous election campaign, where Americans were reminded that President Trump is a man of the people, and he, as a candidate, visited that town that was just derailed by the train derailment, no pun intended, and he offered support and hope. Just like I saw the president do this past week, it was a purposeful decision by this president on his first domestic trip to go to North Carolina and to California to visit with Americans who were impacted by Hurricane Helene and also by the deadly fires. A red state and a blue state, both of which feel forgotten by the previous administration and the federal government. That is now ended under President Trump. He will continue to put Americans first, whether they're in East Palestine, in Pacific Palisades, or in North Carolina.
Thank you, Caroline. On California, could you please clarify what the military did with the water last night as referenced in the president's Truth Social post?
The water has been turned back on in California, and this comes just days after President Trump visited Pacific Palisades, and as you all saw, applied tremendous pressure on state and local officials in Pacific Palisades, including Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, to turn on the water and to direct that water to places in the south and in the middle of the state that have been incredibly dry, which has led to the expansion, the rapid expansion of these fires.
So could you clarify what the military's role was, where the water came from, and how it got there?
Again, the Army Corps of Engineers has been on the ground in California to respond to the devastation from these wildfires. And I would point out that just days after President Trump visited the devastation from these fires, the water was turned on. That is because of the pressure campaign he put on state and local officials there who clearly lack all common sense. And I will never forget being at that roundtable with the president last week and hearing the frustration in the voices of Pacific Palisades residents who feel as though their government has just gone insane. Before President Trump showed up on the scene, Karen Bass was telling private property owners that they would have to wait 18 months to access their private property. So this administration, the president and his team that's on the ground in California, Rick Grinnell, who he has designated to oversee this great crisis, will continue to put pressure on Karen Bass and state and local officials to allow residents to access their properties. This is a huge part of it. These residents want to take part in their own clearing out of their properties. They should be able to do that. It's the United States of America. What happened to our freedom? Clearly it's gone in California, but not anymore under President Trump. April.
Caroline, welcome to the briefing room.
Thank you.
Several questions. One on the pause. Will minority-serving institutions, preferably colleges and universities, have those monies held back temporarily at this moment?
Again, I have not seen the entire list because this memo was just sent out. So I will provide you all with updates as we receive them, okay?
Secondly, when it comes to immigration, there is this southern border focus. What happens to those who've overstayed their visas? That is part of the broken immigration system. In 2023, there was a report by the Biden administration, the Homeland Security Department, that said overstays of visas were 3 times more than usual. Will there be a focus on the overstays for visas as well?
If an individual is overstaying their visa, they are therefore an illegal immigrant residing in this country, and they are subject to deportation.
And also, lastly, as we're dealing with anti-DEI, anti-woke efforts, we understand this administration is thinking about celebrating Black History Month. Have you got any word on that? Anything that you can offer to us?
As far as I know, this White House certainly still intends to celebrate, and we will continue to celebrate American history and the contributions that all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed, have made to our great country, and America is back. Christian Dayton.
Thanks, Caroline. Just real quick, you mentioned the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs for Americans?
Really glad you brought this up, because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage. So I will leave you with this point. This is an example of why it's so incredibly important that the Senate moves swiftly to confirm all of President Trump's nominees, including his nominee for the United States Department of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who is already speaking with Kevin Hassett, who's leading the economic team here at the White House, on how we can address the egg shortage in this country. As for costs, I laid out the plethora of ways that President Trump has addressed saving costs for the American people over the past week. He looks forward to continuing to doing that in the days ahead. Thank you.
One more border question.
Wow. They ain't ready. Let's listen to what they say about it after. I'd love to know what their opinion.
Those outside of the so-called mainstream media, promising to bring in more, less traditional outlets, and in fact making news talking about 2 new seats that would go to those otherwise that would not have had seats in the White House press briefing room, but making news on the tariffs, no specific date for tariffs on steel or copper, looking at the national security implications of DeepSeek. Obviously, a lot of news in that briefing room, and this was only the beginning, John.
On the new media front, I had to chuckle because she first called on Mike Allen,
saw that.
with whom I used to sit in the Brady briefing room during the Clinton administration. So everything old is new again. But you know what? Just looking at this thing very from a dispassionate perspective, she did a terrific job. She's
Absolutely.
27 years old. She had to be up there with butterflies in her stomach, and she handled herself incredibly
And it was a packed room. As you could see, every time that it was time for another question, all hands were up, and that room was packed. One other thing on the federal funding freeze, an interesting exchange there, confirming that this is not a blanket pause, were her words. There's been a lot of questions and concern about this. If you're receiving assistance, you will continue to receive that. She said the pause.
So the bottom line with this is they were not prepared whatsoever. There's an old adage with attorneys and different people ask people questions. Is one, don't ask a question that you probably don't know the answer of. And number 2, don't ask a question that you don't actually want to hear the answer you're going to get. And she gave them answers that they weren't expecting. The most recent one I wrote down was when April Ryan, she's one of the black reporters that's always there, and all she wants to talk about is race. And she goes, well, what about the HBCUs and the black funding? And Karoline looked at her and said, Trump is for all Americans. And I love how she put that, because where do you go with that? He wants all America? Well, what about us? Interesting. Not a single question, not one, about Tulsi, RFK Jr., or Kash Patel. Not a single question. You had the opportunity to speak to the president's press secretary, and not a single question. Because these people are used to asking questions that they care about so that they can put it in a story that they already have written, per se. They already know what they want. Hey, listen, if I can get this question answered, it'll fit into my piece that I'm going to be doing on MSNBC or whatever. Instead of ask a question that people want to hear. Now, obviously, once I apply, if I am accepted, if the Secret Service finds out I'm not a nut, and I'm okay, yes, of course, I will go to Washington, and I will be put on the monkey suit and everything. In fact, I'll start wearing a tie very soon, so that if they start screening my videos, okay, he's wearing a tie, I'll probably have to lose the hat. And then it's not difficult, but a question. All right, Mr. Cunningham, where are you from, and what do you want? Well, I'd like to know Is there lunch being served after this? That's something that I'd probably say. Where do I get something to eat? Oh my goodness. They're going to bring in new media, and these people's heads are going to explode. I mean, literally, their heads will explode. And here's why their heads will explode. Their heads will go boom because people already don't want to hear from them. And you just saw why. Very few of those questions were questions that people at home actually want to hear. They don't care about the stuff that Washington cares about. They don't care about the stuff all around the Beltway that you guys talk around by the water cooler. They don't care. And I loved how Karoline said, you know he killed 100 million chickens, right? Do you know where eggs come from? Oh, they come from chickens. No questions, no follow-up. You see, if she starts using answers like she did today and using the Biden-Kamala regime as a basis for the answers of the questions they're asking, they are going to shut up. They don't want Kamala and Joe Biden or the Democrat Party looking worse than they look right now. And so as you noticed, as she started answering questions, best question ever. So the people who are breaking the law and crossing the border, are they included in the criminals you want to deport? And she's very smooth. She smiled, which I'd have been like, what? You're a freaking idiot. You just said what you wanted, what it is. They're criminals. They broke the law. They're not a little bit. They only broke it a little bit. You guys they're nuts. They actually said it. And then one guy was asking her questions like, I forget the question because it was so stupid, but it was something to a kin of, how long have you been beating your husband with a brush? I forget which question it was because it didn't even make any sense whatsoever. But he was trying to get her in a gotcha. She said, I'm not going to answer a hypothetical about a hypothetical. And that's taught in all kinds of debate classes and how you can get people tied up. It's such an elementary question. Hey, how long has it been since you stopped beating your wife? How do you answer that? How do you wait a minute. I never beat my wife. But now I've got you talking about it. Oh, you've never beat your wife? And that's what they want her to get into. And I love that she called them on it. I can't answer a question, a hypothetical about a hypothetical. What are you, stupid? She didn't say that part. I would have said it. What are you, stupid? They don't have... They're going to regroup. Because right now, here we go. They're going to all pull back. And they're all going to pull back and try to figure out, okay, so how do we go about this? Where's her vulnerabilities? And they'll come up with a plan. Don't trust that they're not going to pull back. If Monica can get on, I'm so proud of Monica. Monica got a question. But if Monica can come on in an hour, we're going to take her. I'm going to ask her, what did they all say when they left the room? What was the mood? How are these people thinking? And how are they going to come back and attack her? Because they're not good. There's nothing that's happening with the Trump administration right now. Nothing that they will not try to come back on. So you can feel rest assured, Caitlin Collins and the guy sitting up front from MSNBC and the other ones, they're going to retreat. They're not quitting. They're going to retreat, and they're going to come up with something based upon something and try to get each other, and like, you ask this question and then I'll ask this question and then we'll see if we can trap her, because that's how evil they are. Their entire agenda right now is to tear this woman apart, and she came in at this 27-year-old woman who's never been a press secretary at this level, stepped up to the podium. She was talking a little bit fast at first. That'll get better. It's like, if I was critiquing her, I was like, breathe. You got this. You're not in a hurry. They're waiting on you. You don't have to hurry through your statement. Breathe. Take your time. Fred, what's your question? But she was running She was running during her questions, and she did a fantastic job. I would already put her at 8.5 or 9. Now it's just to fine tune it. You run this. You're in charge of this. Nothing happens without you deciding where you're going to go with the question and how you're going to respond to it. So breathe before you go in and realize I control this. This is mine. This is my domain. This is why I was brought here. I was brought here to run this. And if you understand that and grasp that, then you can feel very, very comfortable. Nobody's going to rush you, rule you, rattle you. None of it. I mean, I'm very comfortable when I've given talks or speeches or whatever you want to call it about real estate mostly. And I know that there is nobody out there who's going to answer a question and rattle me because, one, I think I know my stuff. Number two, I'm not going to let you. If you ever watch, you know who's very, very, very good at that? You ever watch Charlie Kirk when he goes on these campuses? And he goes out on these campuses and these kids all ask the stupidest questions because they think they're going to trip up Charlie Kirk. Now, the guy's done it hundreds of times, so he knows how much of a numbskull most of these kids are. And he ends up filming it, and they come up all cocky, and then they walk away. Because he knows his stuff. You're not going to trip me up. Number one, I know my stuff. Number two, I know what you're going to ask. And because I know what your content is and what you're trying to do, I'm prepared. And I look confident. You end up looking stupid. And that's exactly what she did today. She knows what Trump is doing. She knows one of the questions, let me just ask you, I'm writing down. And it's always something you hear the media say. And I've always wondered why it's not defeated by the other person. She defeated it today. They can no longer use what I'm about to tell you. You see, most of the media, and you understand this with what's called the smear campaign, and Nancy Pelosi talked about it. It gets printed someplace, and then they can use it in Congress and everything else. Hey, Fred beat his wife, says this person or that. But you just saw it with Pete Hegseth. And then they use it everywhere. Oh, Pete Hegseth, oh, he's a womanizer, he's drunk, and we heard this and heard that. Well, one of them asked Karoline a question. And you're like, well, is this even legal? The birthright. You know, our people said it's not legal. It's not constitutional. Our people said, and she's like, I don't care about your people. This is what we believe. This is what Trump's counsel believes, and we'll see you in court. I'm not playing that game, your guy is better than my guy. And that's how the entirety of the media and the entirety of basically Congress has been. Oh, we've got 95 different historians and people who say this and this. I don't give a shit. I don't care what they have to say. That doesn't matter. I run this. I'm the president. I'm going to do this until I'm told I can't do it. Where do you go? When you get that answer, where do you go? Oh, he doesn't care? I don't care. I don't care how many people you get to do this and that. See, that he learned that from that 51 people said that, the Hunter laptop was Russian disinformation. And all of media ran with it because these 51 people said this, this, and this. Not one single person came up and said, you know what? I don't give a crap. I don't care. I don't care what you think. You saw this on Sunday. Margaret Brennan talking to J.D. Vance, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. He looked her in the face on national TV and went, I don't care what you think. I don't want that in my country. Exclamation point. Bam. What you got? How do you answer somebody when they say, I don't care what you think? This is what America needed. This, in terms of our leadership and in our press secretary and throughout Congress. We need people who are just going to look somebody in the face and go, I don't care what you think. This is what we're doing. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care. When you end an argument, I mean, when you say that, you end their argument. There's nothing for them to discuss. I've done my research. I've talked to my attorneys. They say, no, we have a case. End of story. You're not going to change my mind because I don't care what you have to say. And now, some people would back and say, well, Barry, you're telling half the country that, you don't want to even hear their opinion. I didn't say that. I want to make sure you understand. I didn't say I'm telling half the people in the country I don't want to have your opinion. I'm telling the press. I'm telling this press who is part of the enemy. I'm telling you people in the media who basically smeared me for 4 or 5 years and said I did this and I did that and I had pee-pee and hookers and I don't care what you have to say. You've expended my basically my box of you know what. I have not one left to give. So now that I have not one F left to give, what does that allow you to do? Nothing. It means you talk to yourself. I don't care. Try it. Try it with someone who's yelling at you or saying, I don't care what you have to say. There's nothing left. And so you just saw, I thought it was just Trump. And then I saw JD do it on television with Margaret Brennan on CBS. And I'm like, wow, this is infectious. It's starting to take hold. And then I just saw his press secretary do the same thing. I don't care what you think. And I'm thinking to myself,
we're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
You see, that's when you know you have the upper hand. I mentioned to you guys before about doing business deals. When you walk into a deal, you never want the other side to think they have the upper hand because you have to have what's called the ability to walk away. In any negotiation, doesn't matter if you're, whatever it is, at some point, I already know the line I won't cross, whether it's price, whether it's location, whether it's whatever it is. There's something I already know. I've discussed it with the team. Hey, we're going to go here, and that's as far as we're going to go no matter what's said. And if you see, well, it doesn't look like you're trying to get over that wall, I'm getting ready to leave. That's it. You're at the end of your ability to negotiate. How many of you have been in that situation in your personal life? Girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, divorce, business. And there has to be a point where you're like, all right, I'm done. That's it. Bye. I no longer give a F what you think. And right now we're seeing the leaders of our country letting the media know in no uncertain terms, you don't matter this much. And she started it off by saying guys like me and Benny and PBD and Alex Jones, they're going to bring, which is going to cause these people's heads to explode. I can't even imagine on the next press conference, because she'll start with the big names. I just want you to bring popcorn, a lot of it, if she announces or you see Alex Jones say, I'm going to be at the next press conference and I get the first question. Can you even fathom what will happen if the first person who gets a question at the next press conference is Alex Jones? Because Alex is going to ask about 3 of them. He ain't going to stop with one. And all these, the good question would be, Miss Leavitt, yeah, are you tired of all these people? Are you tired of all these people here? Because, oh my God, can't even imagine if Alex Jones was in there. And then you get other people. Joe Rogan. See, I know I wouldn't get called probably until 2026 in November or so, because I'm thinking how many people she's going to have to call first. And then Joe Rogan scrolls in. And he asked, and my prediction, I texted this to SV. Here's my prediction. I can't put a timestamp on it. I just can't. But my prediction is they're not going to want to go through much more of this. Right now it's new, it's novel. I got to do it. I'm with NBC, CBS. I got to deal with this. 2 months, 3 months maybe. It's going to look awful sparse in that press conference room. They're not going to come. They are not going to cover him anymore. Remember, people like Rachel Maddow said, oh, we're not going to cover his speeches because he lies. Okay, well, if you're not covering his speeches and you're getting called out with the rapid response team because you lie, how you're not going to go, you're not a masochist or sadomasochist, you're not going to walk in there and say, all right, abuse me, give me what you got. No, they'll just stop coming. They'll stop coming, and it will be absolutely awesome. Because just because they stop coming doesn't mean they'll stop doing the pressers. There'll just be more and more of people like me in the audience. You know, right now there might only be a seat for Alex Jones. And then the one after that will be Alex Jones and Joe Rogan together. And maybe Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, and Tucker. And then the next week, Megyn Kelly gets up in there. And I'm thinking, move. And then you'll get people who actually want to, who, number one, have an audience, and number two, want to tell the truth. Not going to ask you, when's the last time you beat your wife? And that's my estimation. You're going to see that room dwindle. You're going to see Monica get her seat. You won't be standing in I ain't going to stand it. I'm just telling you that right now. I ain't standing. I don't stand for restaurants or movies where we live. I'm not going to Washington and stand in the back. I'm like, somebody getting up, all right? Because I'm here, and I'm not here to spectate. I'm here to participate. Does it sound cocky? Yeah, but that's the only reason I'm going up there. I'm ready to ask a question. If I put on the suit, that means I'm ready to do business. So, and anyway, what do you guys have to say? The way you just said that, I had a visual of Joe Rogan sitting Alex Jones' lap. Oh my goodness, that's too funny. Excuse me, you're sitting in my seat. Or rather, just go there and just sit. What do you want? What? Oh, I'm not moving. You still here? I remember, it was a funny story, when I was managing a bar, and I had to step in bartend because one of our bartenders got sick. And I was talking to the other bartenders, it was a college bar, like, these kids, it's hard to get tips out of them. I'm like, no, it isn't. Like, hey, what do you want? Can I get 2 pitchers? Yeah, okay. That'll be $12. Okay, here's a 20. You, what you need? Excuse me. What? I didn't get my change. What are you gonna just move on. Don't give people anywhere to go. Ah, man. Better wear a pinstripe suit and a fedora. I'm gonna have to I like wearing my hats too, man. That's another thing. If I go up there, they're gonna make me take off my hat. Coat and a bow tie. Oh, they may use Zoom to bring in podcasters. Yeah, that's true. That would be funny. Barry, you have to wear the fedora. Okay, I can see Ben. I'm telling you, I think Benny is going to be, he'd probably be in the second or third tier. When I say tier, I'm saying Alex Jones. I don't know how many they're going to do, but let's say they do 2 per press conference. You're going to go Alex Jones and Joe Rogan. You got to go with those 2 first, and then they go. Then the next tier, tier 2, I would say would probably be Dan Bongino, which would be incredibly awesome. Dan Bongino would get out there, and probably Patrick Bet-David, or maybe Megyn Kelly. That would be, it would be Dan Bongino and Megyn Kelly. Put those 2 in there. Then third tier, I would bring in Patrick Bet-David and then Benny Johnson. So they're in for it. I'm telling you right now, because every single one of us who would get the welcomed opportunity to get in there and talk to this, we already know what these other roaches are. They have nothing to offer. And here we are talking, you'd be talking amongst the other people in the room, it would be incredible. They're going to need a bigger press room. Yeah, exactly. MSM is the MSM is the enemy of the people. Absolutely. What's he here? Benny has already been in the White House press corps, hire a rep. Yep, he could get in there. I watched Benny and you at the same time. Thank you. Folding chair, dark MAGA hat. Press secretary is beautiful, and she laid it out. This is going to be nuts. Let me look at a couple. I heard her say 2 people. Okay, so somebody said they heard her say 2 seats. Yep, Dan Bongino, he might be the first one. No, I know Dan Bongino would clear this. He probably already has Secret Service clearance, and then you got to believe that Joe Rogan has Secret Service clearance because Trump met with him. Alex Jones, oh, that would be a Secret Service nightmare, wouldn't it? They'd have to like overrule a lot of the stuff. Like, all right, we got to bring Alex Jones up in here. Really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that would, they'd have to do basically look into a bunch of things. Megyn Kelly, I think she's had Secret Service clearance because I think she's interviewed him as well. Karoline rocks, absolutely. So let me get, and Ashley, let me know if Monica can make it at 3 o'clock. I have a couple of questions for her. It was so awesome seeing her talk. Monica is confirmed for 3 p.m. All right, so we're going to have Monica Page in here at 3 p.m. And we'll talk to her about her question, her response, answer that she got. Was she helpful? And do me a favor, just like they did, and what Karoline Leavitt, I'm announcing to you. Put in some, since you know Monica is coming in at 3 o'clock, if you have some questions about what happened at the press conference, Ashley or SV, if you guys want to write them down, or Monica, any of you guys want, and pick out the ones that you'd like to highlight, please let me know. Yeah, please let me know. That would be awesome if you guys would do that. But anyway, she will be here at 3, and so let me continue with some of the news I wanted to bring you, because there's some crazy stuff, and like I've said to you, it just keeps happening over and over and over. So I was talking to you when this began about this woman who was the chairman of the National Labor National Labor Relations Board, and she's her number one claim to fame and her number one attribute is she's a black woman. That's first and foremost the most important thing. She is going to now sue because she wants to keep her job. How about you just pay her and tell her to go away? Just avoid the entirety of the lawsuit. How about we just avoid the lawsuit and just, what do you want? How much? Because you're not going to be here. So how much? Here, just go away. Just, crazy. All right. So let's continue with this rapid response thread that is simply amazing. She goes into ICE and other agencies have begun targeted operations to enforce immigration law, preserve public safety, and get criminals out of our communities. It seems as though the people on the left are completely hung up on the word criminal. They don't understand, and I think what they're thinking in their mind is, no one's a criminal if they haven't been convicted. And what that means is they are trying to get you to place American attributes on newcomers. Everyone that comes here doesn't get American rights, especially if you come here illegally. And so by saying this kind of stuff, and what they're actually saying is, they don't like these people being called criminals. Because if you don't call them criminals, then you can't deport them. That's part of what they're trying to do. U.S. Border Patrol agents in the U.S. Coast Guard apprehended an aggravated felon aboard a small boat in open waters near Puerto Rico. Biometric checks identified Dominican Republic national Ramon Peter Valdez, who has a conviction for blah, 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 blah. He's already a convicted criminal. There's no way around that one. But if you listen to the things that, as I put slow mode on, SB just told me, SB, we just went with the 30-second slow mode. If you understand that these people aren't the best, which is something that Trump said back in 2016, 17, they're not sending their best. You can't argue with it. And for the life of me, and I've struggled with this. I'm like, what is so important that these people are willing to risk everything, their credibility, their jobs, their safety, because they are putting themselves in danger. They are putting their own families in danger to keep these people in the country. There's some evil stuff going on there for sure. All right, so continue with this. They put up a chart. And on this chart, it says Breitbart versus Fox News, Washington Times, and New York Post. ICE rounds up gang members, those people, suspected terrorists, deportation begins, and they're showing the headlines of the various newspapers. All these newspapers, this isn't the Washington Post, this is the Washington Times, are conservative outlets. Down here, encounters with illegal aliens oh boy, I said the word. At the southern border have plummeted as Border Patrol agents are once again allowed to enforce the law. You want to go and dig in deeper into this. Border Patrol agents will once again be engaging in pursuits with suspected human drug smugglers down here at the southern border. Agents were just directed to revert back to the previous pursuit policy. Remember, under the Biden administration, you weren't even allowed to pursue people you saw running up the beach or running up the road. Based on emails I've seen, we can anticipate that the use of force policy will revert to pre-Biden terms soon as well. So why wouldn't you want your law enforcement people even being able to pursue these people coming across? It was intentional. It wasn't incompetence. I said that many times. We're not talking incompetence anymore. Now you're seeing that there's no level of incompetence that could have caused what we've seen. You now need to feel extremely confident in knowing that everything you've seen over the last 4 years was 100% intentional, with the goal of destroying America. There's no other answer. None. I mean, literally none. I just wonder how it makes you feel. Because I'm telling you, that's why these people in media are trying to cover stuff up. They're terrified. They understand right now it's being exposed not on a daily basis, but on an hourly basis. They can't put their fingers in enough of the dikes, the holes in the dam, the holes in the dikes to make it stop. By the time they react, because it takes some time to find out from the special interest, what should we say, and get it approved by this person, there's 10 more stories. And these people at this press conference, as you heard, which is one of the questions I'm going to ask Monica, is why aren't they asking questions about what just happened yesterday that are even more important? Trump set the military to open the water in California. Nobody? Okay. We have 3 hearings starting tomorrow. Huge ones. Absolutely huge ones. I'm going to tell you what they're doing to Tulsi, by the way. I'll tell you what they're doing to Tulsi right after this when I talk to you about Lear Capital. So stay tuned. As you know, President Trump has assembled the Avengers to make America great again. And of course, we're all excited and ready to see them get to work. But with everything we're seeing right now, don't take your eye off the ball. Things could get much worse before they get better. With the possibility of World War III still looming, And with the Democrats doing everything they can to impede Trump, you still need to keep your guard up and your money protected. Oh, and our national debt is still massively increasing. Don't get me wrong, I have high hopes for Trump's America, but I also have a family to look out for. You see, Trump and the Avengers have quite the uphill battle ahead. That's why I'm making sure I'm protected, and I'm recommending that you do the same. One way to be protected is by diversifying your portfolio. That's why on this channel I've been happy to partner with Lear Capital. As you know, I've been involved in real estate for quite some time. And although I dabbled in gold and silver, Kevin and his staff at Lear have helped to educate me even further, especially in regards to silver. Give Lear a call today and they'll show you how easy it is to move some of your savings or your retirement account into gold and silver. Gold and silver have been proven to hold value and protect wealth for the long term. Call Lear today at 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com to get your free gold and silver wealth protection guides. There's no obligation, just free information. Many of you have seen my interviews with Lear founder Kevin Demerit, and I can tell you this company is solid and likes to educate their customers. Just so you know, Lear has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and over $3 billion in trusted transactions, and is the only company with a 24-hour risk-free purchase. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. So call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. And when you call, don't forget to ask how you can get up to $15,000 in bonus gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. So if you'd like to take advantage of this opportunity, please call my friends at Lear Capital at 800-601-5430 and tell them Barry sent you. And like I said yesterday, please, if you don't have I'll say substantial amount, if you don't have $25,000 or $3,000 set aside to buy gold, but you'd like to buy gold at a lesser amount, or silver, and you actually want that in your hands, as I have them sitting right here, you can buy very, very small amounts. This is a 1-ounce bar of silver, and I think this is like a 1/4 ounce of gold. If you go to the website, instead of actually calling in and talking to a rep, you're going to be able to easily, and I do mean easily, buy gold or silver based upon your specific budget. And you won't get charged exorbitant fees or anything else. You don't need a substantial amount, but you can start going. And like I showed you with what Tom Homan said. Tom Homan said things are about to get crazy. They're crazier. So just be careful. Try to hedge your bets. Do the best you can. And you don't have to have a whole bunch of money. If you go to the website, you can buy things in much smaller increments. That being said, let me talk to you about, what am I supposed to talk about right now? We're going to talk about Mike Huckabee and his kids guide. So as you know, President Trump said he wants to teach our kids to love our country. So, with that being said, now it's finally time for his inauguration, which already took place. It's the perfect time to teach kids everything they need to know about their new president and his mission to make America great again. That's why Mike Huckabee's team put together the Kids Guide to President Trump, and to celebrate President Trump's return to the White House, they're giving it away for free. This book is great because it features fun illustrations and content, and it teaches kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his goals for his second term. Mike Huckabee wants to send your family this free guide so you can teach your kids the truth about President Trump. And when you order, you'll receive a free commemorative President Trump pin. That's pretty nice. Go ahead and put that on your lapel, but you must hurry because supplies are limited. Claim your free kids guide to President Trump for your kids right now. See offer details and order your free guide at kidstrumpguide.com. That's kidstrumpguide.com. Or you can just click the QR code that you see on your screen and get that guide. So kidstrumpguide.com. All right, everybody. So let's go further. We got Monica up in about 18 minutes. So we're going to continue with what what we saw today. Now, before I go back into the news, I want to answer a question. And the question, well, not a question, statement, because Trump was talking about or Karoline Leavitt was talking about the drones. And I saw this a couple times in chat. And it said the drone explanation was extremely weak. And my question to you, Johnny, anybody else, is what explanation would you like? How much more detailed would you have liked the answer? Now, I'm not going to say what you're saying is untrue. What I'm going to say is, you know what? Maybe you're correct. Maybe we would like more information that these things were already authorized by the FAA and that it was us doing it and, you know, the rest was other people clouding the sky. That doesn't work for you. Maybe, and we can bring it up at 3 o'clock. That's something Monica can maybe ask or find out in a different press conference. See, the whole idea is to try, you know, tell me why you think it's not, why you thought it was extremely weak, and what answer you're trying to find. If that is the answer, it was approved by the FAA, and it was other people as well clouding the sky. What answer beyond that would you like? I mean, you're saying extremely weak. Tell me what you think. So what it sounds like to me is no answer is going to be sufficient unless you're told it's either aliens or it was China. And, you know, one or the other. I mean, because I don't, you're telling me you don't believe what Trump just said. She speaks on behalf of him. Karoline Leavitt came out, made a statement. The FAA had authorized it. Now, no one in the audience went further with that, which is another suspect thing. Why did they authorize it? Who did they authorize to? Did they authorize it for an entire month? Why did they just authorize it in New Jersey? Did they authorize it in Florida, Arkansas? What were they authorized to do? See, I understand that part of the question because that was a major story. That was a major story that needed answers. And we got a one-liner, and no one in the audience had anything more that they wanted to follow up with. So I understand what you're saying, because I would have had a whole bunch more questions. Wait a second. What did they authorize? These things were the size of Buicks flying around, right? What was it? What exactly did they authorize to fly around, and what were they doing while they were up in the air? See, your press sucks. Nobody in the audience asked the question, and so she didn't have anything else to say. So I understand some of you are like, what? That's not good enough. This stuff was going on for months. We had a congresswoman from, I forget, some city in New Jersey who, you know, hey, it's happening in my city. Wake up, these things are flying around. What the hell were they authorized to do? Were they taking data? Were they taking air samples? Were they looking for nuclear, you know, particles? What were they doing up in our airspace? Beyond the fact, we get it. They were authorized to be there. Great. Why? You know, I'm with you. I'm with you. There are so many more questions there, and we're just supposed to say, okay, they were authorized. That's the answer. Yeah, that's the answer. Why? Training for drone warfare? Was it weaponry? Who knows? Like you said, if they aren't worried, I'm not worried. She didn't say she wasn't worried. Notice, it was very short. I understand what Johnny was saying because there's so many questions. Are they coming back? Did they get all the data they needed? I mean, you could have had a whole press conference just about there. But the interesting thing that I noticed, and it's something we can ask Monica. Let me write that down to ask Monica about. Are they told, that's it? That's your answer. Don't ask any more questions. Because nobody, not a single person in that press room said, can I have a follow-up about this drones thing? Nobody. Interesting. Yeah, are the drones still being seen in SUV sizes? Yeah, are they still flying? Is the authorization expired? Will there be more? I don't know. So, Johnny, I wasn't putting you on the spot. I'm saying, yeah, that was kind of weak, and it was weaker by the people who were talking. They said it wasn't a threat, so I believe President when he says it's not a threat. Now, I believe that. Okay, it's not a threat. So you could probably read between the lines at that point, and you could probably answer your own your own question. They're not a threat. They were authorized, and it's secret. That's you can read that into it. We were doing something. It's not a threat, and it's on a need-to-know basis, and you ain't one of those people who need to know. So you can read all the mystery novels you want, but Trump says, don't worry about it, but I ain't going to tell you about it. That's where we are with that thing. All right, so let's continue with the rapid response page here, so I can bring this in. And whoever's writing this, I don't know if it's the press secretary or her office, but they're recanting all the stuff that's been done in the first week. DH reinstated the use of the term, which you see on the screen. So here's something very interesting. DHS said, this is what we will refer and how we will talk about these people. This is their official designation from your government. And these people and certain people in the media will not allow it. To hear it said, hey, you can't say that word. It's official. It's the actual law. I don't know if it's a law, but it's a statement by the government. The government has now said that these people are that. I watched the report on MSNBC where the reporter was reading the report. She used the term, and after the report was over, the anchor said, but we refer to them as such and such. No, again, like JD, I don't care what you think. That's what they are. And the only reason I can't say it here, which is going to drive me to rumble, is because I'm not allowed to say what my government has deemed the term. The Justice Department announced it will take action against so-called sanctuary cities for obstruction of U.S. law. President Trump is unleashing American energy. A national energy emergency has been declared to unlock our full energy potential and bring down costs. You guys just watched the press briefing. Nobody talks about it. Hey, when are you going to start drilling? How are you going to do it? What are you going to do? How are we going to see it? When are we going to start seeing drilling? Nothing. They're inept. Every one of the Biden administration's job-killing, pro-China, anti-American energy regulations have been rescinded. They didn't talk about it. Americans have been empowered with choice in vehicles, shower heads, toilets, washers, light bulbs, and dishwashers. Didn't hear anything about it. They didn't talk about it. They could have just went through this as the agenda. The job-killing Green New Scam was terminated. Tell me if you heard anything about the Green New Deal in that press conference. Anything? Nope, nothing. The U.S. withdrew from the disastrous Paris Climate Agreement, which unfairly ripped off our country. Nope, nothing. New federal leasing and permitting for massive wind farms which degrade our natural landscapes and fail to serve American customers have been paused. Crickets. Bureaucratic regulations which impeded Alaska's ability to develop its vast natural resources have been reversed. You see, these are things that actually help America. They don't care. Offshore drilling has been opened to drill, baby, drill. The Biden-era electric vehicle mandate was terminated. Department of Energy ended the liquefied natural gas pause and returned to regular order. This is all in the first week. And these people don't even know, don't even care, don't even talk about it. President Trump is securing historic investments in infrastructure and job creation. Trump announced the largest AI infrastructure project in history with $500 billion in planned private investment. That's one they could have really sunk their teeth into. Imagine this. Hey, listen, we're seeing some stuff out here that your boy Elon is saying that Sam Altman ain't got any money. And that Sam Altman is a... I mean, that would have been something you could have really dug into. Hey, I mean, we all saw it play out last week. Elon was all over Sam Altman. I mean, he was tearing him a new one. Dude ain't got no money. He ain't got no $500 billion. Not a question. Nothing. Big one. Saudi Arabia declared its intention to invest $600 billion in the U.S. Did you hear anything about that? Nope. After meeting with President Trump, Stellantis announced it will reopen its assembly plant in Illinois, putting 1,500 employees back to work and building its next-generation Dodge Durango in Michigan, along with new investments in their Ohio and Indiana facilities. Nope. Didn't hear anything about that, did you? Electric giants Samsung and LG are considering moving their plants in Mexico here to the U.S. The Wall Street Journal says Trump tells Davos, make your product in America or pay tariffs. Did you hear anything about Davos? What he said to Klaus Schwab and his boys? Nope. Oh, okay. Let's continue. President Trump is reestablishing peace through strength with his America First foreign policy. Secretary Rubio was unanimously confirmed. Colombia agreed to President Trump's terms and will accept flights of Colombian illegals being returned on military planes. Now that was everywhere. But the press didn't mention it. What are you guys doing? How could you not have brought up everything we've just seen in the last, 24 or 48 hours? Between Colombia and Mexico freaking out and Honduras calling it nothing. The State Department declared America First foreign policy. State Department issued a pause on existing foreign aid it grants to ensure accountability and efficiency. They talked about that. What do you mean we're not giving away Americans' money? So everything else you've just heard, none of that was important. But the fact that we're not just giving away money anymore, that bothered them. Yeah, let's ask Monica about that. Why is there such a focus on us stopping spending money? I don't know. Let's see. President Trump continues to secure the release of hostages. Did you hear that? Nope. The Iran-backed Houthis were redesignated as a foreign terrorist organization. You heard that today. The Jewish young man, he talked about that. The State Department announced it will no longer facilitate or encourage mass migration. Belarus unilaterally released innocent American Anastasia Neufer, who was taken under Biden. I know you didn't hear about that. State Department ordered embassies worldwide to only fly the American flag, not activist flags. Nope, didn't hear about that. This is all the first week. The reason I'm bringing it up before Monica gets on, this is all news that actually happened that no one in that press briefing wanted to discuss. The Mexico City policy was reinstated to ensure no taxpayer dollars support foreign organizations that perform or actively promote baby removal in other nations. That's one of their pet peeves. Hey, we're not going to give Mexico City policy. We're not giving any money to anybody who wants to facilitate baby removal. Nope. Didn't hear about that one. And stop me, I can look in the chat. Have you heard about all this? The United States is rejoining the Geneva Consensus Declaration, which promotes opportunities for women and girls around the world and protects the family as the fundamental unit of society. Oh, wow. You mean promoting familial values, making the family unit important again. Definitely didn't hear anything about that, did you? All right. Bloomberg, one by one, world leaders in Davos fall in line in Trump era. President Trump is restoring common sense and integrity to the government. Discriminatory DEI offices, employees, and practices have been eliminated alongside a return to merit-based hiring. Fox News, Trump's federal DEI purge put hundreds on leave, nixing $420 million in contracts. Oh, they focused on some of that. Notice what they focus on. Because one of the things that is apparent with the media is they're doing the bidding for somebody else. If you were doing the bidding and really looking to get the news out and protect Americans, there's a whole lot of stuff there. I'm only, let's see, how I don't even know how much further. I have like 15 more of these things to go through. And they didn't talk about it at all. They only talked about the pausing of funds to USAID and the pausing of funds of grants and the pausing of funds of stuff abroad. All they cared about was, you're stopping spending? Oh my God, how can you possibly stop spending? Well, the individuals aren't going to be affected. Don't worry about that. If you get a check, you get a check for now. But all they could care about was the coffers being reined in, which means, which should indicate to you specifically that their agenda is for somebody else. Somebody else's money is going to be going down, because if someone else's money goes down, then the people they work for, their money is probably going down. It's all, if you put a flow chart together and said, well, okay, so money comes from here, it goes to there, and it goes to there, and then they buy advertising. And in this company, it goes from here, it goes to here, it goes to, and they buy advertising. Don't be swayed into thinking that these people in the media have any regard whatsoever for what you actually care about. They are doing the bidding of people who pay their salaries. That's what's most important to them. That's why independent media is so kicking their butts, because we're not beholden to these people. I read my ad for Lear Capital. I just read an ad for Mike Huckabee. But if tomorrow Mike Huckabee's Kids Guide or Lear Capital said, hey, listen, Barry, we decided to sell widgets and we're no longer going to be doing gold, I'd still be sitting here tomorrow. I'd still be sitting here a week from now. I sat here months ago before they even got involved. You cannot say the same thing for the media. When RFK Jr. gets in, if he cuts 75% of pharmaceutical spending, they're screwed. There's no way they can exist. Without the flow of cash coming from the government and being laundered back through a back door from agency to agency, the media is done. There's nothing for them. But you can bet your ass, Dan Bongino and Alex Jones and Benny Johnson, and fill in the name of podcaster, they're not beholden to these people. I know there was a big scam and people were screaming because Benny Johnson took some money from, I don't know, Russia something company. I don't care. None of my business. But they made a big deal about it. But you know what? It's over. It's gone. That money's no longer flowing. But guess what? He's still kicking ass. You can't say that about the media. Their ratings are like, there's no stopping it. And so that's what's really on their mind. That's it. We don't have to destroy the media. They're doing it themselves. Yep. You always make perfect sense. I learned so much from you, Barry. Wait till you see the hearing. Tomorrow is RFK. And when these people are going to wig, they're losing it. Because the people who are going to be asking the questions on the Democrats, they also know they're about to lose a whole bunch of money. It's all one big incestuous sewer where this money from Pfizer and this company and that company all come back to the people in Washington. And so what we're about to do, SV just texted me something. I saw a word that makes me want to pick this up real quick. SV says that the Department of Justice has just been evacuated. Now think about that. Without any further information, I can't speculate. But let me see if I can look this up, because if the Department of Justice has been evacuated, these people are losing it. Let me see if I can bring that up for you guys in real time. Yep, Leo Terrell is talking right now. He just posted this video. He says, we were told to leave the Department of Justice building in an evacuation. Let me see what else is there. Just in, evaluation of the DOJ building. Leo Terrell is talking. He's doing a lot of this with Leo. Here's another one. Laura Loomer, DOJ building is being evacuated. What'd I tell y'all? I want y'all all to remember what I've been saying. It's about to get crazier. I posted it. I showed you. I tell you to buy gold. Told you to buy poo-poos. Pew-pews. Told you to buy more ammo. These people ain't going easy. This is not going to be a an accepted exit. Liberals going crazy. DOJ is being evacuated. My goodness. Why was we were told to leave? So it's definitely an ongoing. Kimberly Guilfoyle, the DOJ swamp. Oh, that's an older one. Emergency probably done. All right, so not a lot to go over right now, but they're being evacuated. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy what's going on. That's something else to ask Monica about. She may not be able to come on. She may have to run and go take that. That's a story. Let's put that down. DOJ. We're here to talk about. So this is what I'm saying. Keep your head on a swivel. Crazy stuff going on. Crazy stuff going on. Yep. Daryl, it's going to get crazy. It's definitely going to get crazy. They have to slow his roll. He has so much momentum. They have to be freaking out. So that what you just said is the punchline about what I've been reading. That is specifically. So when I said they haven't covered this, they haven't covered that, it's because they can't. There's too much. As I showed you this, where was that? Let me just go back to this. I'm down here 50. Okay, everything I've been showing you has just happened this week. Every single thing you see there is another story. Is another thing to talk about and ask questions, and they can't. And so now, today, whatever he does today they're going to try to think about it for tomorrow, but then tomorrow comes. Last night he turns on the water in California. Y'all got any questions about that? None? No? Why not? Excuse me. Why not? It just keeps happening. He's no pun intended, but he's flooding the zone. And he just keeps going. All right, so until Monica comes, she should be lining up in here. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have her? Give me a second here. You know what? I got to do something, but I can play with my new thing here. So I'll be right back because I got to get things set up for Monica. like turn on the microphone. What I was saying was, I put that together. It's a new thing I packaged so that if I got to do something like get something ready or something technological, or if the dog starts barking or something, I now have a screen I can go to that just says, "I'll be right back. I'm just taking care of something," and now I just don't look like an idiot, except if I forget to turn the microphone back on. But in any event, let's continue. Now we're being told. So let me just finish with this. Waiting to see if when she logs in. Okay, so we're here. The FAA must return to merit-based hiring for all positions. Affirmative action in federal government hiring has ended. All federal employees have been ordered to return to the workplace. Not a peep. Nothing. It is now the official policy of the United States that there are only two ways to swing. Not a word. Not a question. The weaponization of government against its citizens has ended. Censorship by government against its citizens has ended as well in favor of free speech. President Trump renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and restored the name Mount McKinley to America's highest peak. Pete Hegseth said that Fort Liberty will go back to being called Fort Bragg relatively soon if it hasn't already. Not a single question from the media. None. Doge has established to maximize government productivity and to ensure the best use of taxpayer funds. Karoline Leavitt, and I'm pretty sure many of you who are Christian, you understood the term she used. She used this term a couple of times. She said, if you go back and watch it, she said that we intend, speaking of the government that Trump is running, intend to be good stewards of Americans' money. And there is Monica, so we can get in because I want to waste her time. So I'll come back to that good steward stuff. And let me see if Monica, can you hear me?
Yes, I gotcha. For some reason, it never connects to my AirPods. Let me see. AirPods. Let's try this.
Let me know when you're live. So just,
That's totally.
You got frozen. You may. Let me.
Do it again.
Okay, there you are.
All right, there we go. I got you in my ear now. Finally.
Okay, you got to ask a question.
Oh, we did it. We did it, Joe.
We did it, Joe.
Yay! We did it, Joe. We did it, Barry.
Is that the first time you were able to ask a question in the press room, or have you done it before?
That was my very first time. Barry, you have no idea the years of frustration that the Biden administration has put me through, whether that's deleting my emails or pushing me off to the side or looking like they're going to call on me, but then deferring to somebody else. It really feels good to have a voice to somebody who was silenced over the last 4 years. So let me tell you, Barry, that briefing room was packed. That was the most filled briefing room I've ever seen in my whole entire life. There were people part of the media that I had never seen before. Every single seat was filled, standing room only flooding into the back room. It was crazy, but it was a great first briefing that could not have gone any better.
It was so funny because when they showed the woman next to you, she got a question, and people were like, "That's Monica standing next to her." And then when it came back and they asked me, like, I could literally see the chat light up because people now are familiar with you, like, "That's Monica." So that was awesome. So let's talk about your question first. Were you satisfied with the answer, and what answer were you looking for if you weren't satisfied?
Sure. Well, I was very satisfied. I know that President Trump doesn't forget about the American people. No matter if it's a year, 2 years, 5 years later after the East Palestine toxic train derailment, I know President Trump always has the American people at the forefront of his mind. So I really liked how Karoline kind of tied in California and also North Carolina, and how, you have a red state and a blue state, and how, President Trump gives equal treatment. He wants to hear from the people who maybe voted for him or didn't vote for him, wants to hear from the everyday people. So I'm looking forward to seeing, if this will be on his schedule. I'd put money on the fact that President Trump would go back just to check in. I mean, some of the people over there still have clean drinking water. They still don't have access to the resources that the Biden administration maybe have abandoned in the past. Many people still feel abandoned by the previous administration. So I think President Trump will fulfill maybe his promise of visiting those people or giving attention to them. I did choose this question because it was sent to me, I think, the most from some of your listeners or Charlie's listeners as well. I got that question quite a lot. There are quite a lot of people still curious to know if President Trump has plans to go back to Ohio. And I think that he will. Another question that I do want to ask is that if there is an update to the investigation into the assassination attempt back from the Butler rally, I'd love to know if there's an investigation. What's the update? I know that that's another story that's gone under the radar as well. So there's still plenty of questions that we've haven't had answered from the last administration. Would love to know how the current administration is going to handle it. Yeah.
Now, how come, is it by seniority or whatever? Some of these people ask a question with 2 or 3 follow-ups, and she allows that, even during KJP. And, well, you can go back to Jen Psaki. There seems like certain people will ask 2 or 3 questions. Is that something that's seniority, or could you have asked a couple follow-ups?
I could have definitely asked a couple follow-ups, but given that this is my first ever question, it was very intimidating. I mean, some of the people in that press briefing room are animals. They are real savages. They will latch onto you. I got railroaded when I tried to ask my first question. I got immediately interrupted by the guy who was behind me. So that's just who we're dealing with. And some of the questions that people asked from the front row specifically, we were kind of looking at each other and scratching our heads like, what kind of question is that? Karoline had answered the same question 4 different times. There's no other way you could say it. And, she was still asked the same question. So this is just who we're dealing with. I mean, now that I know the dynamic of what the briefing room is going to be like, I'll know how to be better prepared for the next time and know, just push forward, just keep asking, just keep spewing questions. Now that I know, now I'll be sure to know for the next time for sure.
All right. So she launched a bombshell right at the beginning when she said that she's going to bring in new media, which if I was looking in terms of like clout or seniority, I'm just imagining Alex Jones sitting in the front of the room and watching these people explode. How do you think the press is going to take to that?
Well, we're already hearing reports. I mean, Mediaite is already reporting. I'm sure Daily Beast is ready to write another article about, the right-wing extremists who get priorities over the legacy media. We're just waiting for those articles to come out of the woodwork. But I mean, I don't think they're going to handle it very well. I mean, we've already seen, a lot of huffing and puffing coming out of the press briefing room just today alone after the first briefing. I think it's a great thing that Karoline is pushing forward. I think having those 2 seats in the front, giving the priority to, people who haven't had their voices heard in years. I mean, I'm not sure if Turning Point will be one of those voices that will be sitting there for a day or so. But I know that this is such an amazing opportunity. I mean, given the fact that a lot of young people and people who are just sick of the talking heads on TV screens, on MSNBC, CNN, this is a perfect opportunity for them. And I think Karoline did a fantastic job her first briefing. She did not have a binder. She had nothing in front of her. She was just flying off, at the seat of her pants. I mean, there was nothing. She had nothing. And she handled everything with class and with grace. And that just goes to show that she is so smart and so quick. And we're just very excited to have somebody like her, give a voice to people who have been silenced, and I think it's going to infuriate a lot of legacy media. But I mean, we are finally very happy to be given a voice.
Well, I was before you got on and earlier, I was going through the new profile on X, the rapid response profile, which is just chock full of news. And the last thing I was just talking about was a thread that they were talking about all the different things that have happened in week 1. And as I was going through it, the thing I was noticing is they didn't talk about any of it. I mean, it seems like they only wanted to talk about money being cut off. And I'm wondering why they're so focused on that. What is it that they're... I mean, it's kind of obvious, but none of the other stuff, not even the declaration of there being just 2 gender. They just seem to hone in. Even April Ryan, she's talking about, is there still going to be funding for HBCUs? And I love what Karoline did. She turned it and said, all Americans. Not black colleges, not white, all Americans. So why are they so focused on that?
Well, I mean, when you take a look at some of the things that they're reporting on, everything has to do with money and cutting off funding to X, Y, and Z group just so they can spin something to make it seem like, oh, President Trump's a racist or he's a misogynist or he's a homophobe. Any kind of group that they can isolate by using money and, oh, why isn't there funding anymore? Well, also take a look at where that money has been going. I mean, Karoline Leavitt explained a situation out in Gaza where money was going towards condoms in Gaza. I mean, these people, they see dollar signs, but they don't see where the money is going. And I think there should be an investigation into where the money was going over the last 4 years in any agency or in any organization that was collecting funds for any kind of disaster relief or humanitarian assistance. But I'm really glad to see that we're cracking down on these organizations and these groups. But this is an administration that is for all Americans. It's not an administration
Right.
for certain groups over others. And that's what we saw the last 4 years.
Was that real about the condoms in Gaza? I mean, that there
I
had
believe
to
it. I 100% believe. Oh my gosh, I believe it. I mean, I definitely, this opened up my mind where I definitely want to do some more research into
Yeah.
more of where this more money has been going. I mean, if it's that, I can't even imagine what other funds have been going towards other things as well. So I think, I mean, this is an administration that also pushes the American people to do their own research on things. Oh, did you hear something that intrigued you? Look it up,
Yeah.
and for some reason, the last administration's nothing to see here. Don't believe your lying eyes, don't believe your lying ears. And we're done with that. We're bringing truth back. And I'm very confident that Caroline's doing that.
She kept holding up the report and saying, you guys all have it. Why didn't you read? I mean, it was almost like she was schooling it, but at the same time telling the outside viewer, you guys all know this. You're acting like you don't know. You have this information. Why aren't you, like you said, researching beforehand? Question is the DOJ just got evacuated. I don't know if you guys got the hit yet in terms of any news on what the heck's happening over there.
Yeah, I actually just saw the same report on X. I saw a video of everyone evacuated out of the DOJ. I still want to head over there after this hit and just kind of check it out and see what's going on over there. But I don't know if this has anything to do with the mass overhauls that's been, underway under this administration, or if there's an actual emergency or something like that. But I think, there's something to be said about the timing of everything as well. So if it's not anything of emergency, I definitely think that the timing is rather suspicious, but would love to follow up and see what's going on over there after this.
Okay, so when's the next one? And it seems as though Trump, I'm thinking like him. He wanted her to do it. This was her show. Let her take control of the room. When's the next one? And is he going to? You think he'll show up?
Caroline didn't miss a beat, obviously, as you could tell from this briefing. I can expect perhaps tomorrow, or maybe Friday. Definitely going to make this a more frequent thing because the last administration, maybe we got maybe once a week or a couple times a week, but there'd be so late. Like this briefing started on time. The briefing started at 1. She started at 1:04. Nobody was waiting any more than 5 minutes for this briefing to start, which is a positive sign ahead. And I can definitely expect President Trump to make an appearance within the first month. I mean, nobody speaks better for President Trump than Trump himself. So I can expect him. We're making some bets here on this side of the White House. When can we expect Caroline to give her first briefing? It was Tuesday today. When can we expect President Trump to? So it could be within the first month, but we've already heard from him on day one. So seeing him in person in the briefing room, I expect sooner rather than later.
So you got to probably, I don't know if you have access to this, but you got a busy 3 days. You got RFK tomorrow, RFK Jr., his hearing tomorrow. Then we've got Tulsi and Cash, and then those two are the same day. Are you going to have access to those rooms?
Unfortunately not. I'm very limited to where I can go. I know I don't have my Capitol Hill. I know that we have our press badges here, but we do not have our Capitol Hill badge. But there will be plenty of lawmakers, I'm sure, on the Hill that day, speaking to the press. But I'm pretty much stationed here for the most part. That was another question that I was excited to ask Caroline was, how important is it to get to these nominees like Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., and Kash Patel confirmed quickly? Because a lot of his initiatives call for, Kash Patel and obviously call for Pete Hegseth. Thank goodness he's confirmed now by the tie-breaking vote, J.D. Vance, of course. So how important is it to get these nominees confirmed swiftly? So just so he can push across his agenda, make sure he wants to do everything that he can do. quickly and push through his Agenda 47. I'm sure a lot of people were looking forward to that. So we'll definitely see. I think the only thing that could hit some roadblocks, it could be Tulsi. I'm not entirely sure how enthusiastic Republicans and Democrats are about her, but we'll definitely see. And if anything comes down to it, we know that J.D. Vance could cast that tie-breaking vote again, like we just saw with Pete Hegseth.
And I'm reading something on X right now, and I've heard rumblings about it, that they're looking at taking her vote off the floor and doing it in private. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard anything about that. I'm not entirely sure. That must be very new. That must be just
Yeah.
coming out this week.
In
I'll
the
definitely have to
last-
look into that.
Yesterday it looks like it started, and it looks like they're trying to push it into a skiff. So I don't know why you would take the hearing public, but then take the vote in a skiff. That's kind of weird.
Yeah,
So
that doesn't make much sense. I'd be very suspicious if that were the case.
yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what
So
that's about.
she may. How do you think things are going to go with Cash?
I mean, personally, I thought that there would be some kind of friction between the votes, but I think most of the friction lies with Tulsi, as we're seeing or starting to see right now. But a lot of people are enthusiastic about Cash. They see him as a guy who will get down to work, get down to business, and help President Trump do all the things that he wants to do, especially restore transparency to the American people. Cash Patel is very passionate about that. After just hearing him on podcasts and on other news shows
Yeah.
as well, so I think he'll have no problem. I think Tulsi will have a little bit of an issue, but I mean, RFK Jr. I think will pass very quickly
Yeah.
as well.
So do you think that with this fire hose of news and what's been, and let me just stop. I was amazed that nobody really asked about some of the things that happened yesterday, like California, the water going back on. I mean, they just ignore a lot of questions. Is it because they're overwhelmed that there's so much news? Why are they just picking like 2 or 3 issues and not looking at all? It's just amazing. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it, but is he moving too fast for these people?
Well, your question is something that many people are also asking, because a lot of the questions in the briefing room are pretty much focused on the humanitarian side of the deportations. That's something that Caroline was asked a lot about. And they're just trying to make this administration look bad when they ask those kinds of questions. Of course, the water's turned back on. There's a lot of good things happening with this administration. And the media they make a conscious decision to not highlight the accomplishments, to not highlight the good things that, maybe Americans are seeing lower prices, Americans are seeing peace in the Middle East, hostages are coming out.
Right.
I mean, out of Gaza, obviously being held by Hamas. There are a lot of things this administration is doing and, is proving to the American people that it is for everybody. And the mainstream media chooses to harp constantly on the negative, shine a spotlight on a specific area of immigration that is a little bit offensive to them, and just blowing it up and making a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, these deportations are happening because these people are criminals.
Right.
And coming in here illegally is a crime in and of itself. So, I mean, this is what we're dealing with in the press briefing room. The kinds of questions that the American people heard and were frustrated with, this is what we have to deal with on a pretty much daily basis. And I like to sit there and look and kind of, obviously I can't say anything or cause a stir, but I'll look and shake my head and give a little eyebrow action and say, well, what kind of question is that? Because it's just really stupid questions. I mean, I'm sure you can understand. You hear the press briefing it.
People were watching and go, "That's a stupid question." They were answering in the chat. It's like, what is that? And then ask the
these
same
are distinguished
question.
journalists, Barry. These are distinguished journalists who have their degrees at the most prestigious schools, and they ask the stupidest questions.
I always think like they're trying to get some FaceTime or what, because you have an opportunity to ask the press secretary a question, and that's what you ask. That seems like a complete waste of time. So if you talk to Caroline, just tell her you own this, girl. You this is your room, this is your stage, because she came out like she was ready to fight, and she was moving fast and everything. Like, just take your time. You got this. These people they couldn't lay a glove on her. I was so happy for her. So I'm gonna let you go, because how cold is it out there today?
Not bad today. It's like 45, 46.
Oh,
We got
wow.
a heat wave. So
That's a heat wave in summer.
it's good, yeah.
All right, Monica, you're going to probably get some more tweets and questions over at you. Let me know if you hear anything about oh, yeah, there's one question here. Why are they slow walking Pam Bondi? Why'd she get pushed back? Do you know what happened with that?
I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to look into that. I mean, that's a question that I'll definitely. I mean, I am meeting with Caroline on Thursday,
Okay.
completely off the record, so I'm very excited to speak with her. But I'll definitely, that's something that I'll ask her. Of course, just some questions that I wasn't able to ask in the briefing room, would love to ask her behind the scenes. So definitely on my list of things to ask her for sure.
Well, thank you for taking the time, and congratulations on your first questions. And anybody watching, you want to hit up at Monica Page TV. Did they ever get in there and stop the imposters? Nope, they're still running around?
No, they're still roaming. I don't know what to do with them, Barry. I don't know. Hopefully your followers can just start. We need to get these accounts deported. I don't know who I contact for that. Maybe Tom Homan can deport these fake accounts.
Absolutely. You know what's funny? Every time you say something, it just brings something up to me. When I saw Kristi Noem in full military gear in New York City, out there with the guys, I'm thinking, what a wimp she made Mayorkas look like. 4 years of him going on television and spewing crap, and she's out there, a woman in full gear with these people. I'm like, man, that's awesome.
Badass. Awesome.
Completely badass. All right, Monica, thank you very much for your time, and stay warm.
Thanks so
and we'll
much.
talk to you soon. Thank you very much. Guys, follow
Thanks,
her.
Barry.
Yeah, thank you. Follow Monica Page TV. That's her handle, and you guys can take a look at it. So, SV was hitting me up with something else again. I think it was Kristi Noem was talking, but she didn't say anything, so nothing big there. So, you guys have been here. You've seen all this stuff, and I am so happy that you guys come in and watch these things. Tonight at 7 o'clock, I've got George from Beheezy Tweets. We're going to talk about, he's not a credentialed reporter, but man, he gets some scoops, and absolutely huge scoops. Let's just see here. Cash is the most difficult, not Tulsi. Well, I don't know. It's going to be fireworks either way. They're trying to torpedo Pam Bondi's confirmation. Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Thank you to Monica for spending some time. I love the fact, as you could imagine, Ashley has got us that hookup with somebody at the White House. I love that. And the different senators and Congress people that Ashley sets up were awesome. Let's see, what do we got here? Great interview, Barry. Yeah, I don't even know if I can call her an interview anymore. Well, she's just part of the Fanfare family. So if you guys get out there and go ahead and follow at Monica Page TV, that will be awesome. So here's what we're going to do. I got to get ready for 7 o'clock. Perfect timing right now. And I'm sure there'll be some more news that will break before then. But let me go ahead and acknowledge Super Chats. From LTN, let the truth be told. Yes, for sure. These people are, what just happened? Hold on. These people are complete scum at this point in terms of what they do. Why did my mouse freeze? My mouse has frozen. Okay, my mouse is not playing along with me. There we go. All right. Patty, I'm going to try and say your name. Patty Billsman, drones are still flying almost every night. Well, I should have asked her about that. I'll make sure to ask her about that. You are awesome, Barry. I've been watching you almost 1 year now. I've told many others as well. Thank you for what you do. God bless you. Thank you very much. And, like I said, we've got a great team. Let me just tell you, and you guys can put it in the chat if it's something that you'd want to do. And Ashley, SV, Roaring Rage, Severo, if you guys want to take a look at this. My first Trump video was on March 18th of last year. Many of you guys have been asking for, when are we going to do a get-together in Boca and have like appetizers and drinks and everything. I'm thinking about doing a Trump spring break. March 18th of this year would be my 1 year anniversary of covering Trump. It's only been, 10 months? 10 months since we've done this, and you guys have done so much to get me to where I am right now. So, March 18th is our 1 year anniversary, And I want to know if you guys would be willing to come down to Boca and we'd all get together. I know some of you wanted to. I'll pay for the drinks. I'll pay for the food and appetizers. If you can get here, let me know if it's something you'd like to see. We got a bunch of places here in Boca. By March, it's going to be, the weather will be really nice right here by the ocean. If you know, let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in doing, is that for a bunch of us to go ahead and meet up down here, and we'll have an anniversary party of sorts. I'd love to go ahead and meet you guys. Let me know. KRO, latest meme. I don't recall. IDRC. Penny Corridor. They are trying to claim, they're trying to confer illegal rights. I mean, constitutional rights on these people. Absolutely. Reyes, we are America, the greatest country ever. We will not be tread on. That's the message I got from Karoline. A new era has begun, so get in lockstep with it. You can probably just, as you could tell from what Monica said, you could turn off the media at this point. They're just going to be a bunch of crying, whiny fools. They got nothing. Like I said, we've said it before, over and over and over. It's a dead party. It's an absolutely dead party. All they have left is what they're doing now, potential violence. Carrie Lemoine, Barry, I'm loving this. Where do we in fanfare send our app to be your envoy, Chaos Strictly? I think I understand what you're saying. Want me to go ahead and put that in? Danny or Mary Lou, voice looks, clarity, honesty. What more could you want? She's fantastic. She did a fantastic job. I only, like I said, the only critique I would say is, breathe, girl. You got this. This is your room. This is your house. This is your show. If you're watching this because of my application, you go ahead and check on me. I'm telling you, you did good. You did almost perfect. The only critique I would say, like I would be looking at a quarterback that threw 6 touchdowns, like, take your time, man. You got this. Let them know you're in control. You did today, but it was like bam, 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 bam. Now it's just, I got this. What do you got? That and hook me up. Beverly Linton, Mark Levin was informative about how the birthright isn't for babies born here. Yep, I did see that. And I think, maybe not tonight if I don't have time, but I'll go ahead and cut that so you guys can hear that as well. You guys are talking about the egg prices down where you are. Some people are talking $6-9. I don't know. Our eggs ain't bad down here. I don't know if Publix is buying them from a different place or not, but they're nowhere close to those prices. I mean, it's. Let me see if I can pull it up here on a screen. If I went to Publix and said Publix is our local grocery store here, and I just like to check. I mean, it tells you I have to check because we don't buy eggs. Robin does. She buys organic eggs because she just likes them. I get egg whites in a carton, so they're always been a little bit more expensive. But eggs down here, Public eggs. If you just went with a generic brand of Public eggs, let's see what they want. It's making me choose a store before it tells me what the egg price is. I just want to compare what the egg price is down here. Okay. Current store. Okay. $4.99. $4.99 for a dozen here. What can I say? Let's see. Beverly says, wonder what the FAA was doing with the drones and why. More is needed. Yeah, I agree. We need more information. Where is this? Conditional base says, sponsor Monica since her foot is in the door. That's a good idea. I know she works with Turning Point, but yeah, maybe we can look at doing something to help her out. For sure. Ashley, you can get on it. Let's see, we're here. Raise, we are America. No, I think I took that one already. What is going on here? Yeah, hold on. It got all, okay. I see what happened. It went to the wrong page. 1 second here. Okay, got it. Drones are okay. That's what we said. Drones are almost flying almost every night. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do about those drones. I don't know if we're ever gonna find out specifically. But if Trump says they're no big deal, then maybe they're no big deal. You know, we'll just take it to Larry 1754. Barry, you'll have to teach Robin Espy how to run your broadcast to show live when you are in that room asking questions. Yeah, I'm going to need some help. Might have to hire a producer. Well, I got a producer. Ashley's a producer. I'm going to have to find a board operator so they can actually do this stuff. But you're right. Sandy M. Barry, if you still want blueberry muffins, they freeze well. No, I can't have blueberry muffins anymore. I'm on a diet, which I was so happy the other day. Somebody said, you have to recut your Lear spot. I'm like, why? You lost weight since you made that. I'm like, oh, can I hug you? Can I hug you? Yeah, so I don't eat the blueberry muffin unless they're like low fat and low sugar. Yeah, this is what I'm seeing for eggs down here. She said I just paid $4.58. It's so when they keep saying $9, they're probably talking about like New York or California or someplace like that where the grocery prices are close to $7 a normal price. So I don't know, because I just shrug my shoulder like we call Instacart and have them deliver stuff. Blade Nicotera, did that last journalist actually say prices have already skyrocketed after? Yeah, she said it. She actually said it. Complete idiots. CR, awesome Caroline. She did a great job. Jen Boo Boo, this administration's a blitzkrieg. The lunatic left can't handle it. No, and that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. These people, all they got is violence. All they're going to be able to do is protest. And you know what's weird? Just keep protesting in, Washington and New York, Chicago. We're good. You guys can have all that area. We don't care. Do what you need to do. Go to jail. Doesn't matter. Barry Canova. Barry threw in a 20 spot. Thank you very much. Gut feeling tells this old Italian you just might get an invite from the Trump admin in the near future. Yeah, I'm gonna have to strap on a tie. Get a tie put up in here. Robin, go ahead and order it on Amazon. Nice red tie. Or two. Ronald Zimmerman, Barry, she did an awesome job. She sure did. I haven't worn a tie in a long time. Long time. Gene Hickey, can't wait to see you in this room, Barry. Oh, thank you. I'll be taking pictures like a tourist. I'll definitely want to go into like Nancy's office. Oh, that's the White House. No, I can't go to Nancy's office. I can't leave there though. I cannot leave there without meeting the boss. I'm gonna have to tell Monica, to tell Caroline, I'm coming, but I can't leave until I meet the boss. Now I've been in a room with him, but I'm talking about what's up, Donnie? That's what I need to be up in there. Jeff, I don't think the American people would be too happy to find out their tax dollars went for condoms in Gaza. They're gonna find out now. Yeah, we all found out. I think she said $50 million. Be mad. Be mad that somebody wanted to send $50 million of your dollars for condoms in Gaza, which I think every single one of you knows that's bullshit. That ain't real. The money's real. It ain't. Come on, somebody's getting seriously buttered. Scott Voigt put this towards a new suit, retired and surviving at $13,000 a year. Thank you. I have a suit, but that suit's probably got dust on it. I haven't put a suit on. I live in Florida, so I'll have to get it tailored and brought in and all these different things. Who is this? Joy. Hey, Joy. Where'd you go? Oh, wow, you go, girl. Karine Jean-Pierre. Who? Yeah, that was embarrassing. That's embarrassing. All your DEI stuff is being exposed. You can see the difference. Absolutely see the difference. Olivia, I love that she's wearing a cross. Prominently wearing a cross. Not just wearing a cross. She made sure she had a black shirt with that gold thing. Boom. right there. Let everybody know this is it. This is how it's going to be. Love she kicked in some butt too. It was amazing. Hold on, and I got this page. Sometimes it's hard seeing all these things. Olivia just took that one. Okay, Ken Romolito, I missed the Trump intros. Oh, you know a new one's coming. There's always a new one coming. And so, just stand by. I'm running with this one right now. Gives me some time to get people into, just so you know what the intros are for. Some people are like, I don't like the long intros. What the intros are for is whenever YouTube does send out their notifications and they let people know that the show has started. Some people see it. They might be doing something, maybe in the bathroom, maybe cooking, maybe burping the baby, doing something. And then it gives them time to get ready and come in. So that's why you even have, that's the difference between a on-demand video versus a live show, is with the live show, you want to give people time to get in. Who is this? Will Smith. Where'd that go? Oh, Mr. Berry hit the winning button. We're all winning finally. You want to hear winning? Let's do it to winning.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Yeah, we're winning. Definitely winning. This one is from Fran. Congratulations, Barry and Family MAGA. Yep, great. Thank you very much. Barry, God's sending you to Washington, so pack warm because where'd it go? It's not Florida weather. Congratulations, we have faith in you. I can't wait to get up there. The day they say approved, I'm going to just hold it up so you guys can see it. But before then, they're going to have to send the guys in black suits down here, and I'll wait for the SUV to show up. And can we talk to you? Yeah. So we found this about you, and it looks like in 1982, you did this and did that. Who, me? Ooh, I don't know what you're talking about, Willis. That wasn't me. That must have been someone that looked like me. Wasn't me. Promises made. Jeff says promises made, promises kept. Oh yeah, you're right, Oxford. When I go up there, I shall be called a fellow. I will be a senior Trump fellow. So if she calls on me, I'd like to call on Barry Cunningham here. He's a senior Trump fellow. That's me, the senior Trump fellow. But you can rest assured, I'm signing up. Hey, Will, thank you very much again. Heck yeah, let's get Mr. Berry a White House press pass. Who wants to see the Fanfare family? Oh, you wouldn't be able to talk to me. You have to call my agent. Ruth McCurdy, indulge your one-man intro when you apply Trump deserves to see it. All right, so if I'm using the one-man intro, I'm going to have to change the footage and the talking, because that was a campaign video. It meant to get this one man elected. Now I'll have to do some different footage of him becoming president, which I'll do. Ruth. Okay, that's what I just... Hey, Tommy, what's going on? We'll get Tommy to do the new intro. Go, Barry, go. Yeah, Tommy can go ahead and lay down the tracks for the new intro. Michael Clark, the Mesa Mike. As U.S. Coast Guard and JTF-5 military veteran, I say we send SEAL teams and military operators to Mexico to root out the cartels. Bingo. It'd be a very quick fight. Be bloody, but it'd be very quick. CR, thank you for great coverage. Agent Pepsi, Barry, I love your channel. Great live chats. That's the. I notice a lot of people like to come here because they get to talk to the same people. You find that also on our X group as well, which I'll show you. Will Smith again, thank you. Hey there, Mr. Barry. Driving the Northwest and loving the show 1 mile at a time. Looking sharp today, sir. Y'all like these button-down shirts, so I'm gonna have to, what I have to do when I buy shirts, I haven't bought any new shirts in a while, but I'm going to buy some new ones, but they have to be cool. Let me tell you why they have to be cool. One, I live in Florida. Number two, when you guys do this stuff, these lights can get hot. You got the lights, you got the computer, you got the monitor, you're got your blood running because you're talking. So a lot of that stuff I'm gonna have to get there. Definitely some cool shirts, some good looking shirts, but cool shirts. Angela Esteli, $4.19 dozen in Indiana. Normally you can buy them for under $3 on sale. Yep, okay. Talmadge Coates, Chucky Boy Schumer throwing Trump under bus during his liberal news conference that Trump was cutting off money from American people at a time, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately for Chuck, nobody's watching, bro. Nobody cares. Again, as I said during earlier part of the show, they're at a point where I don't care what you say. I don't have one F to give. Screw you. Betty Stokes, thank you very much. Did that come through? Yeah, there it goes. Peter Boyce, check it out. More than 2 dozen. Oh yeah, I was going to go over that tonight. I have a video about these people down here in Coral Gables who that's a big story. Big story. Notice nobody asked about that today. So their talking point, as you just heard, as Schumer's out there talking, is about you cutting off the money to the po peoples. We're done with that. We're done with you trying to just constantly talk about the poor's peoples. Trying to save the rich and the millionaires and billionaires, and you're one of them. Wow. DEI, deport every illegal... what? Deport every illegal... Yeah, DEI, deport every illegal. Oh, I see what you're saying. I was worried that you were talking about MAGA. Deport every illegal MAGA LFG. Yes, you are correct. All right, so let me know, in comments, and let the moderators know if you guys would like to come down for a meet and greet where we all can get together. I don't really drink, but I'll have a daiquiri now and then. I do live in the vacation area, so I'll have a daiquiri now and then. A banana. How do you say banana daiquiri in Spanish? A banana daiquiri. Yeah, that's it. What movie was that from? What? I like to use those old movie references. What movie was that from? All right, so if you'd like to join us in our private X group, please go ahead and go to fanfareshop.org/group. We'd love to have you. By the time we come on tonight, we're probably going to be at 14,000. Believe it or not, 14,000 people will be in that group. And if you'd like to enter to win a hoodie tonight, go to fanfareshop.org and you'll be able to enter to win a hoodie. Ashley just ordered it, or she's either ordering or has ordered another bat, so you'll get one. And I got to put all these pictures she's been sending me. I got pictures of so many people with their hoodies. So many. They look fantastic. Keep sending them. So we'll talk to you guys tonight at 7 o'clock. We've got George from Behezi Tweets on. Trust me, the guys, I know we follow Benny. I know we follow PBD. I know we follow Benny John. But this guy is who some of these guys follow. That's what's really interesting, is that he gets some scoops. I don't know how he's getting these scoops, but a lot of other guys follow him and get stories from him. So tune in at 7. We'll see you then.